Jason Anderson with you, Jack Johnson, Dylan Michaels. We head up until 2 o'clock. The next 4 hours, we've got you a lot of stuff to get into and talk about today. We'll talk some NFL football. We'll talk some Major League Baseball today, some basketball on the docket, some recruiting on the docket, some logo dancing we'll talk about as well. We'll hang out with Matt Derrick coming up an hour from now from Chiefs Digest. 41 is the Mike podcast. Mick Schaefer will join us. We got the cuts before the show is over as well. Cavs, Pacers, Game 3 tonight. I mean, it's not a must-win until it's a must-win, but it's kind of a must-win. You don't want to go down 3-0, so it's like not a must-win, but it's a you can't lose type of deal. So we'll get into a lot of stuff here throughout the day, but that game comes up tonight right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. The Royals start a 3-game set against the Boston Red Sox, sitting now 7 games over 500. And interesting, when they were 8-14, we had a conversation of, do the Royals get back above 500 this year? I mean, because at that point, they couldn't score. They were getting beat by good teams. They were going to keep playing good teams, although the schedule was going to ease up a little bit. But the schedule can ease up, but if you don't score, you can't win. That is a true statement in any sport, except for sporting last weekend. If you don't score, you cannot win. They did not score. It's just the other team scored for them, and they won. But in baseball and football, if you don't score, you're not going to be able to win a game. And the Royals had a number of games in which they were not scoring. They're doing that to the opposition now. In their last 12 games, or 13 games, they have 6 shutout victories and close to 7 if it wasn't for the 9th inning on Wednesday night with Estevez in there closing things down. So close to 7 shutouts in a 13-game stretch. But this is a team that is 15-2 since that losing streak that dropped them to 6 games under 500. And they have played phenomenal baseball. They have not hit the ball incredibly well, even coming off a 10-run performance yesterday. They have not performed well overall offensively throughout the season. But we also talked about, I think it was a week ago at this time, the discussion we were having about confidence in the offense moving forward. They now have a 3-game set against the Boston Red Sox in the American League East. And something happened yesterday. I don't know if you guys know this or not. But something happened yesterday for the Kansas City Royals, and I believe it was yesterday. I might be a day off. Give me a second. I thought it was yesterday, but I wasn't smart enough to go and check. No, it was not yesterday. My apologies, everybody. It was over the weekend, or it was earlier this week is what happened. I should have noted it at the time, but what happened on, I guess it would have been Monday. What happened on Monday for the Kansas City Royals, it's Friday now, so we should have noted it on Monday. But what happened on Monday is with 100 plate appearances on the season, at least, I guess going back to last year with 100 plate appearances at least, the Royals had somebody leading them in batting average that wasn't named Bobby Witt Jr., and that's now Michael Garcia. So I saw it yesterday. I'm like, oh, yeah, he's batting. Because we had been talking about specifically Michael Garcia. And in the background, it's just like, well, Bobby Witt's doing Bobby Witt things, right? He's got this 22-game hitting streak. And, Garcia was batting down in the 270s, 280s. And then he's just been nothing but white hot since then. And so Monday, I guess it would have been. So I looked at it last night, and I'm like, wow, Michael Garcia has a higher batting average than Bobby Witt. And that's now been 4 days in a row. So like I said, what happened on Monday here on a Friday is dating back to last year. Every day that you would wake up, Bobby Witt leading the Royals in batting average. He won the batting title last year, so that makes sense. But as he's going through his 22-game hitting streak, I would have lost a lot of money if you just said Bobby Witt is going to have a 22-game hitting streak at the beginning of the season, and he, yes or no, fact or fiction, will not lead the Royals in batting average. Fiction? course he's going to be leading the Royals in batting average. There isn't a player that's going to be batting higher. Name the player on this team. Maybe Vinny, I guess, if he's healthy. Maybe Vinny. India's going to get on base, but he's not a batting average guy. I guess I'll go with India. It's got to be him, right? MJ Melendez. No, I don't think it's going to be MJ. Certainly wouldn't have guessed it was Michael Garcia. I think Vinny might have been the only guess. Honestly, would there have been another guess that would have popped in your mind if you said this late in the season on May night, this late, but, we're almost 40 games in. Bobby's going to be batting .325 and not lead the team in batting average. Who is it? Vinny? Nope. Here we go.
I think I got it now. There we go. Okay.
All right.
I would say my pick would have been Vinny, truthfully. I would have said Vinny, the low strikeout rate. Thought he was going to have a really good bounce back year, fully healed after the fractured thumb. And then number 2 on that list would have been Jonathan India, not so much because of the on-base numbers, but because I thought hitting in front of Bobby Witt Jr., he was going to get more hittable pitches and therefore lead to more of a breakout season. But to have Michael Garcia on that list, I'm not sure anybody would have.
No.
I don't believe there were a ton of people convinced that he should have been an everyday starter going into the year.
He didn't start opening day.
He didn't start opening day.
He didn't start opening day, man.
And that's what's great about this is not only has he emerged and flourished over the last month and a half, he's still 25 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, to have your 2 top hitters be your 2 youngest players in the lineup, that's exciting to know because these guys aren't going anywhere anytime soon.
He's not going to be a free agent until after the 2029 season. So even with this year for Michael Garcia, there's 26, 27, 28, and 29, and then he'll finally be a free agent, which is great to think about with Michael Garcia. Sucks for him because he's so close to having an extra year of service time, but not necessarily the case. It's been phenomenal to watch. We've talked about him. Offense overall seems like it's coming around. Salvi's hitting the ball harder. The ball is finding gaps. Salvi's hitting the ball the same way he was when the balls weren't falling in. Now they're finding grass or the wall. And Salvi's been a doubles machine and 2 out RBIs yesterday. 2 out RBIs throughout this run that the Royals have been on, sitting at 15-2. And one of the things that I was looking at last night, ESPN updated their power rankings last night. And baseball, power rankings or whatever. The Royals last week were 19th in Major League Baseball in power rankings. They have moved up to number 11. So they've gone up 8 spots at ESPN's power rankings over the last week. Makes sense. But what stood out to me, and I don't know if you guys have looked at them or not, what stood out to me in these power rankings, the AL East gets so much credit every year about how great the division is, right? You got the Red Sox, you got the Orioles, of course, you've got the Yankees, you've got the Rays, the Blue Jays spend money and da-da-da. Red Sox are probably going to win the division this year, how good they are. They could win the World Series. Baltimore is stacked with talent. Yankees have all the talent. They played in the World Series last year. Tampa's got, their talent, and they just do it every year. And it's like, yeah, the American League Central got 3 teams in the playoffs, but it's only because they played the White Sox. The White Sox are in the division, and that's why they got those teams in the playoffs. So let's sort of, acknowledge what's really going on here. And looking at the power rankings, in the top half of the league, the top 15, there are 6 teams in the American League because the National League we know is the dominant league in this year in Major League Baseball. There are a lot of really good teams in the National League. But out of the top 15 teams in the entire league, 6 of them are in the American League. And there are many teams from the American League Central as there are teams that make up the East and the West. Detroit's number 5, the Royals are number 11, and the Guardians are 13th. The Yankees are 7th, the Mariners are 9th, and the Red Sox are 12th. You've got 3 teams from the American League Central. Do people view the American League Central as in this is one of the better divisions in baseball? Because I don't think they do, because they see the small market Royals, small market Twins, small market Tigers, small market Guardians, crappy White Sox, that maybe the Pope will bless their future, now that we know he's a White Sox fan, not a Cubs fan. Thank God we got to the bottom of that. We figured that whole thing out. So if you're in Chicago, honestly, that's probably a big conversation today, because yesterday at the Wrigley Field, they put Pope as a Cubs fan. It's like, actually, no, he's not. He's pretty much a diehard White Sox fan. Maybe he should be if he's a Bulls fan. Got the lottery coming up. Maybe he should bless them with Cooper Flagg, the Chicago Bulls. I don't know, say a prayer for that. But it doesn't feel like the American League Central gets viewed in a way that if you changed the teams out and their record and put different names next to them, it would be discussed a lot more if you put Yankees, Red Sox, Orioles next to Tigers, Royals, Guardians and their record. It would be viewed as, man, that division is really good. It's tough. And no wonder the Blue Jays and the Rays can't really, do much, because you're going up against the Yankees, the Red Sox, and the Orioles in what they've got. And here it's like, the Twins and White Sox, they're just struggling, but Tigers are good, and Cleveland's a scrappy little team, and the Royals can pitch it, but they can't really score. It doesn't feel like that conversation is there when the Royals go 15-2, and they have gained 2 games on the Tigers. They were 4.5 games out. Or they were, I guess, in the 15-2 stretch, they were 5.5 games out. So they've gained 3 games on the Tigers, 1 straight head-to-head on that Sunday that started the 15-2 stretch. So they go 15-2, and they've gained 3 games on the division leader. That's how great the Tigers have been. They're now just tied with the Guardians in the American League Central. Both are 2.5 games out. I do believe another division would be discussed much differently than the Central is being discussed.
In my opinion, it's because you don't have any major brands in the American League Central. When you look at the East, you've got the New York Yankees. Whether they are good or bad, people are going to be talking about them. The Boston Red Sox, of course, are always going to be talked about. When you go to the AL West, you've got the Astros, who have, the prominence, the consistency, always, getting to the ALCS. So you have them in that division. And the cheating scandal made them more, I don't want to say watchable, but more eyeballs were on them. You had more people rooting against them. Where in the Central, I would say if you ask the average fan in baseball if they hate any of those teams in the Central, they would say no. They're all small market teams. There has not been a repeat winner since, I want to say it was like the early 2010s. If I'm not mistaken, I'm not missing a 2-year stretch there. It's always someone different. It's Cleveland, and then it's Minnesota, and then it was Detroit, and it was Kansas City. It was the White Sox in the early 2020s. So that inconsistency puts in people's mind that there's no top dog there. It's just this mediocre division that they're all just leapfrogging each other year after year. And then last year, what I felt got the AL Central a lot of disrespect was the stats out there about their records against the White Sox. Every team in that division. And so when there were 3 of them in the postseason, they said the only reason they're here is because they had the worst team in all of baseball. I will say this, though, because in my opinion, by far and away the best division in baseball is the National League West. It's one of the best divisions we've ever seen, period.
Unbelievable.
They have the Colorado Rockies in that division, and there's going to be 4 really good teams. I mean, the Diamondbacks are in 4th place, 5 back, and they're 2 games over 500. They had the 6-31 Rockies there. They are going to be able to beat that team into oblivion over the course of these next 4 months. So you may get the Giants, Padres, and Dodgers all in the postseason, and they're going to likely all have great records against Colorado. I'm not trying to say the Dodgers, Padres, and Giants are equivalent to the Tigers, Guardians, and Royals, but to me, why do we penalize teams? Why do we fault teams for beating bad teams? I've never understood that in baseball. It's not that you're puffing out your chest and saying the Royals are the best team in baseball because they just swept the White Sox in 4 games. They've done what they've needed to do against the Rockies and the White Sox, which is go 7-0. As if the Dodgers face those 2 teams, I'd expect them to go 7-0. It's what good playoff teams do. They beat up on the bad teams, and if you are a small market bunch, you hope to play 500 ball against those top teams like the Dodgers. But for the Central, wouldn't say it's the best division. I would say that when you play these teams, minus the White Sox, you leave that series bloody. These are all very scrappy teams that are tough to beat, and you can mock them but they're not tough to beat over a 3-game series.
To your point on the National League West, the Diamondbacks are 2.5 games out behind the Phillies for the last wild card spot, which would, if they pass the Phillies, it would be 4 teams from the National League West that would make the playoffs. The division winner and all 3 wild cards would be in the playoffs. So it's been Dodgers, Padres, Giants, and Diamondbacks in the National League West that would make that. Unfortunately, Colorado's not close, as you talked about. But it's a great point with Colorado and last year being viewed from the prism of the White Sox suck. And one of the things that I looked up this morning is I could be accused of cherry picking here because I didn't just take the top 3 in the American League East and look at what they are total against the American League Central, but just for S's and G's, since it is Detroit, Cleveland, and Kansas City beating up on the White Sox, right? What is the record combined with Detroit, Kansas City, and Cleveland against the American League East? Those 3 teams against American League East, 16-11. Those 3 teams that includes the Royals getting swept by the Yankees. I mean, the Royals are, because the Royals went 3-0 against Tampa and 4-2 against Baltimore. So they're 7-2 right there with those 2 series, or 3 series, I guess it would be, with Baltimore. And even getting swept by the Yankees, they're still 7-5 on the season against the American League East. The Royals are. Detroit's dominant against the American League East. They haven't played the Yankees yet, or have they? Yeah, they're 2-1 against the Yankees. So another sheet of paper that has all of the records there that I left at my desk. Doesn't matter. I've got the total record here of the American League Central versus the American League East. It's 16-11 is the record. So maybe it's not just all the White Sox. And again, I didn't just look at, well, these are the 3 teams against the Yankees, the Red Sox, and not the Orioles because the Orioles are struggling and the fans are revolting and wanting the GM fired and all of this stuff. And, they didn't make any, real strong moves for pitching and all of that stuff. But it's hard to say that the American League Central is behind that division. And the reason the American League Central would be viewed as a reason they have 3 teams in the playoffs yet again is because the White Sox, except for the fact that they're 5 games over 500 against the American League East. Other than that.
Yeah, I mean, they've held their own. We can look at the American League Central and understand its deficiencies in the same way we can look at the AL East and understand its deficiencies. But, I don't know if you can look at the AL East anymore and say that's a gauntlet of a division. Mm-hmm. I used to view it that way when the Yankees were, the top team, and I still believe them to be the top team. Toronto is no longer what they once were. I thought they were going to take a tremendous step forward, being a little bit more aggressive, adding Jeff Hoffman, adding Anthony Santander. They have a negative 36 run differential, and they're 17-20. They can't pitch. They can't close out games. Tampa Bay, they have always been that steady hand. They always level the water down there where, hey, even if they're not a playoff team, they're 81-81. They are 9-16. Now they're not playing at the Trop anymore, if that mattered at all, because they didn't have a big attendance there anyway. But they're 5 games under 500, negative run differential. And Baltimore, that's the biggest surprise in the American League, though it's almost a penalty, in my opinion, of ownership. And Mike Elias, who I'm huge on, their general manager who turned around the Houston Astros, they just sat back after getting swept yet again out of the playoffs. They have the worst rotation in baseball. They've got one of the worst pitching staffs and a negative 69 run differential.
Nice.
10 games under 500, 7.5 back. And they're talking now about, is their season already over? To have a last-place team like Baltimore, it shows you have a competitive division. Mm-hmm. But, man, I mean, second place in the AL East at this point in time would be 4th in the American League Central. And people were mocking the Central like 6 games into the season when everybody was below 500. I knew that Detroit was going to be good. They've got an elite rotation, elite bullpen, and they even have center fielder Javi Baez now turning in a career year. Cleveland, no matter who they have out there, they're tough to beat. Let's just put to rest that Cleveland's ever going to die. They're not going to. They're going to be tough all season long. The Royals have one of the top pitching staffs, and Minnesota's getting healthier. Yeah. They've won 5 in a row, and they've got a plus 15 run differential. So you just can't view them in the same way that we have over the last 5 to 6 years. There are not only division winners and 4 spots in the Central, there's maybe a team in there that can get to the World Series this year.
And as far as like the White Sox are concerned and beating up on the White Sox, it's not an even record, but and it's early in the season. There's less than 40 games, but White Sox are 4 games behind Baltimore. So it's like it ain't exactly like the White Sox have 2 wins and the Baltimore Orioles, have 25, and it's like, well, they're last in their division and they're above 500. I mean, the White Sox are the worst team in the American League. 263 winning percentage, and Baltimore's the second worst at 361. I mean, Baltimore's 6 games out of the playoffs. The White Sox are 10 games out of the playoffs. And they're only 4 games back. In 40 games, right? I mean, it's a 26 for the Orioles because they've had some rainouts and things like that. So 26 games or 36 games for the Orioles. But still, this time last year it was like the White Sox had like 3 wins or 4 wins. Mm-hmm. So yeah, they're not great. They're not the White Sox of 05 and Jermaine Dye and those teams, and they're not that team. But they're also not the White Sox of last year, and the Orioles are not the Orioles of the last 2 years of winning 100 and winning 90 plus, and being a playoff team. They are not that this year. But that won't be acknowledged, I don't believe. It'll be viewed as the Orioles will get it turned around, and then look how good the Orioles are going to be if they get it turned around and healthy with pitching, and Charlie Morton finds the fountain of youth, I guess. I don't know. Or Kyle Gibson, starts not giving up, 105-mile-an-hour rockets. Like, whatever it might be for their particular pitching staff. Or they make a move and say, bleep it, we're going to trade some prospects. Like, they hoarded their prospects, and they did a great job of acquiring assets. And again, they made the playoffs back-to-back years. They're 0-5 in the playoffs in those 2 years. And so Elias going from where the team was to where it is now, he certainly rebuilt this organization to be in the position that it's at. But when you have that, I think the mistake that was made is all of the position players that you acquired, which is great strategy. Top of the draft position players, college players, can't miss high school kids like a Jackson Holiday. But don't fall so much in love with your own guys that you don't want to move them for assets that will help your big league team. And I feel like that may be what he has fallen into, because I've talked about Kobe Mayo a couple times, right? And he may not be needed since Caglione may be getting closer and closer and closer to the big leagues, right? But Kobe Mayo coming up and struggling, and then being sent back down, and then last year struggling, and then not making the team out of spring training with, Colton Cowser on the IL. I think you're killing the value of him. Like, his best value was before he ever came up last year. The max value for Kobe Mayo to trade him was before he made his major league debut last year, when they said, that's Austin Riley. That's who you're trading for. And then he batted 190, and then he didn't make the team out of spring training. And then you have this. So he's not that guy. Jackson Holiday's coming around. I don't think they would have traded Jackson Holiday, because that's a guy that you're feeling like is a Bobby Witt. Gunnar Henderson, not going to trade that guy as well. But a Colton Cowser, a Heston Kjerstad, those were guys that could have been moved for decent pieces before you see him at the big leagues. And even Colton Cowser with Rookie of the Year, like, before you see him at the big leagues, maximizing the value that's there. And I think that's something to keep in mind for the Royals as well, because we mentioned a name earlier this week, and it was Jorge Soler. And that was a name that came up in a potential trade with, I believe it was Bob Nightingale, that brought up, potential trades out there that teams could make to solidify their team, solidify whatever their weakness is. And he had Royals and Jorge Soler for Ben Kudrna. And the immediate reaction was, hell no. Nope. No, thank you. No, thank you. No, not at all. Okay, well, what happens if you bring Ben Kudrna up and he's a 4th or 5th starter? Not on this rotation, but like a general 4th or 5th starter in the big leagues. Well, did you maximize the value there? I mean, do you want to trade him for a rental player? No, you wouldn't want to do that, probably. So I understand why people would be more averse to that. But you fall in love with your own prospects and feel like they're more valuable to you than they are other teams. And so if you want to get a bat that will help, that's got, 6 home runs, that it's not getting on base and not hitting for a high average, but a guy that can put it out of the park, a guy who you were hoping Hunter Renfroe would be, quite frankly.
Yeah.
But you didn't sign Jorge Soler, you signed Hunter Renfroe, and so that's why if you want to make that move, you've got to give up an asset for it. But that's a move that would have to be made. Like, you would have to move something that you find of value, and the Orioles never did that. I don't know that the Royals will do that, but they moved some guys that a lot of people that watch the minor leagues like. They acquired John Schreiber, and people were upset with that. Urseg, it's like, oh, but I really liked that guy that they traded for Urseg. Cool, maybe he turns into, I don't know, Urseg.
Yeah,
it's like, maybe it's a sailboat. Maybe it's a boat. What is it? Door number 1, it's a boat. Door number 2, it's mystery. Oh, man, door number 2 could be anything. It could be a boat. I don't know. Like, this guy could be anything. He could be Urseg, right? But you're trading for Urseg. I know, but this guy could be Urseg. How cool would that be, And so it's just a matter of how you view yours, how other teams view yours, and what you're willing to give up and trade to keep your team at a high level of competitiveness or an opportunity to win the World Series.
I feel there's this misconception when it comes to trades in baseball where you have fans go, well, I want them to make a move, but not that guy. Don't give up this guy. And I would say to every Royals fan out there that the way they evaluate pitching now, you shouldn't feel bad if they trade any of their minor league pitchers because they clearly have a talent now of identifying pitching talent and developing it. Mm-hmm. What they've turned Chris Bubich into, what they've turned Cole Reagans into, even though we've not seen the best of James MacArthur, where they got him from, being a AAA 26-year-old who had a 7+ ERA and then saved 14 games for the Royals or 16 games for the Royals last year. There are guys they've hit on, even in their bullpen as well, that they've found. Steven Cruz is another one. Evan Sisk could be another one. So when you're looking to add to this team, what was the biggest frustration of losing to the Yankees in the ALDS last year? They didn't have enough offense. They didn't have enough heavy hitters in the lineup. And a lot of fans, I feel, leaving the ballpark in Game 4 at Kauffman Stadium said they got to be able to get an offense that can compete with a team like the Yankees. You can try to do that in free agency. You also have to try to do that at the deadline. And if you are concerned of, oh, no, they trade for Jorge Soler, and maybe he's good, maybe he's not, but the guy you give away turns into something, that's also the risk of baseball. Mm-hmm. You think the Rangers are crying every single night of losing Cole Reagans? Maybe some are. They also won a World Series with Aroldis Chapman, and they don't win it if they don't have Aroldis Chapman. So those are the risks you have to take, and here's the reality in baseball with prospects. We do overvalue them at times. Caden Wallace was the number 2 prospect for the Royals last year. They got Hunter Harvey. Hunter Harvey's thrown 10 innings for them, or less than 15. Caden Wallace has not done much in Washington, and not saying he can't do much down the road, but that's why teams have to make this move. And J.J. Picollo says it every single time, that we know to get a good player, we have to give up a good player. This is not MLB The Show or some franchise mode where you can give up some awful prospect for somebody's legitimate bat. GMs are not that stupid. So if you want to see the Royals make a move and get an impact bat, the likely chance is that they're going to have to give up somebody in their top. Pretty much everybody, in my opinion, is touchable except for Jack Caglione, Carter Jensen, and Blake Mitchell. After that, I do believe that depending on the player, there are guys that can be involved in those discussions.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And maybe I'm missing someone here, but the only prospect I remember giving away that, you hear about now is Sean Manaea during that time.
But even at that time, you got Ben Zobrist.
That's what that's what I'm saying.
Right,
is
nobody
that you
panned
got
out
a
for
great
Johnny
return,
Cueto.
but yes, exactly. Like the only prospect that is talked about today from that time is really Sean Manaea.
That's a good point. Yeah, all of those prospects, the Royals minor league was stacked, and they could go and they had the ammunition to go and make moves, and they get Cueto, and they give up a number of guys, and then they get Sean Manaea. All right, your pitching is depleted in the minors now.
You could say Will Myers because he played for a while and was like a. Yeah. But not to what he was expected to be at all. Not even
certainly.
Close.
So probably Will Myers and Sean Manaea are the two. And out of Will Myers and Sean Manaea, you got James Shields, you got Wade Davis, and you get Ben Zobrist to help you win the World Series. I mean, for what those guys ended up being, okay, you get 6 years of nice play in right field from Will Myers. You get 6 years of decent pitching from Sean Manaea and some injuries along the way. Or you get Shields, Wade Davis, and Zobrist as a rent-a player. I mean, that's what they needed at the time to go and win a World Series. And this team, I believe, has a chance to win the American League if they can get enough offense. And is it worth it or not to trade one of these pieces? Maybe Solaire's not the answer. Maybe Solaire's just a placeholder of a name. Because I said rent a player, but he's got $16 million next year on his contract. So he would have a year and a half left on his deal. But then also you might be carrying $16 million for a guy that next year might be batting .220 and hitting 10 home runs, with the All-Star break. So there's the risk that you take. Now you're going to be paying double the money for Hunter Renfroe next year as opposed to what you're paying for Hunter Renfroe this year. And you don't really need that bat because then you're going to have a year older Salvi, Caglione, and Vinny. Do you need a guy that's a DH or a right fielder when you're kind of feel like you've got those positions taken care of? So maybe it's not him, placeholder name, but that's the name. If you're talking about trading somebody, it's a Ben Kudrna. I mean, it might be Carter. I don't want to see either one of those guys traded because local kids. I think it's a great story. But those are it's not going to be Jack and it's not going to be Blake. But those are the names that you're going to hear if you want to really make a move for a legit bat that you put in this. And I do think the Royals are going to be more interested in guys that have longer service time, team control, like an Urseg, like Hunter Harvey, as opposed to a rental player.
Well, they also know that this is hopefully the beginning of their window. If this was the final year and it was we got to make a push, then maybe a rental player is okay. But we've seen under J.J. Picollo, we want to better this team and the one after that. I would not trade Ben Kudrna straight up for Jorge Soler.
I wouldn't either.
Because I'm very high on Ben Kudrna. As you said, I'm rooting for a local kid. But when I look at them trade pitching prospects down on the farm, it's not a doomsday scenario for me. It's that I believe that they believe they can recreate that player. With David Sandlin getting traded for John Schreiber last year, it was not oh no, they just gave up a pitching prospect. We should have the confidence that they know they can create another David Sandlin with their pitching development.
Yeah, Will Klein right now has a almost 8 ERA at AAA.
He's not even with the Athletics anymore.
Not even with the Athletics anymore. And that was the name. It's like, man, you're giving away, you're trading Will Klein for Ursig? Although at the time I was like, I can't believe that's all they gave up for Ursig. So it wasn't exactly, it wasn't the, like you mentioned, Caden Wallace for Hunter Harvey or Schreiber. When it's like, really? You're going to trade him for Schreiber? All you're getting back is Schreiber? Ursig was like, really? You got Ursig back for that? And he's under team patrol for that long? Hell yeah. Well, it's a highway robbery. What they gave up for Tanner Scott and some of these other guys that were traded at the deadline? Good night, man. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. Speaking along those lines, but we talked on Monday and mentioned, Chris Bubich. And do you sign him right now? Are you going to have to potentially trade him? Because, he is going to be a guy that's going to be a free agent after next year and then make a lot of money. Jeff Passan wrote an article a couple of days ago about players that'll be $100 million players as a free agent. Chris Bubich's name is there. We'll talk about that coming up next. he goes out there and does his thing yet again yesterday. And the Royals pitching staff has just been so brilliant. But Chris Bubic has one more year before he becomes a free agent. And they avoided arbitration with him this year. He's going to get a pretty penny if he continues this in arbitration at the end of this season. And then he'll be a free agent. He will be, and somebody can do the research and the work for me. I'd appreciate it. How many guys are college pitchers that reach complete total free agency before 30? Like a college pitcher then gets to an organization, goes through the minors, comes up and pitches, and doesn't have a 3 in front of their name when they're a complete, and doesn't sign a contract extension, right? Or we're gonna buy out 1 year of free agency or 2 years of free agency, and now you're a free agent and you're 31, 30. Like he's gonna be 29 years old in the winter when he's a complete and total free agent. It's a chance to make a lot of money if he stays healthy the rest of this year and next year. And that's why Jeff Passan has his, class of 26, 27 potential $100 million players, and the contenders being one of them, Chris Bubic. The class overall of that particular season is Freddie Peralta for the Milwaukee Brewers. It's the main one, that class of 26, 27, so free agents after the 2026 season that are potential $100 million contract players. Freddie Peralta. Contenders, Randy Arozarena, Alec Boehm, Chris Bubic, Jazz Chisholm, Adolis Garcia, Ian Happ, Nico Horner, Gavin Lux, Jesus Luzardo, Casey Mize, Brady Singer, Seiya Suzuki, and Dalton Varsho. Now he also has a couple of years later as a $100 million player, Cole Reagans listed, because they've got Cole Reagans under contract until after the 2027 season. I bring it up for Chris Bubic because I feel like, and I think they have fully, I think they are, the front office knows what the hell they're doing. So I don't think there's any doubt about here's the plan and here's plan B with Chris Bubic. Maybe his agent would say no thank you, but we discussed it briefly on Monday. Like seeing this from Jeff Passan, reinforces a little bit of what we were talking about on Monday, and that is, I feel like you approach him now. And if you don't approach him now, then you trade him in the offseason. Like because if you approach him now and he wants to get to free agency, well then are you going to be able to pay Reagans after 27 and Bubic after 26? Or we've got to have at least one of them, so we're going to pay Reagans, or we're going to pay Bubic and then we're going to trade Reagans. Like I don't know. In fact, I am pretty confident the Royals will not be able to afford both Reagans and Bubic after the 26th season. They've got Reagans through the 2027 season, paying him the 3 years, $13 million. He's going to be a free agent at 30 years old with his multiple Tommy Johns. We'll see if he makes it past the 27 season without any other injuries. But I feel like this would be the time to approach Chris Bubic. He's made a total of $10 million in his career, including this year's $3 million salary. So adding in the rest of this year, $3 million, he would have made a total of $10 million in his career. I'm not saying you sign him 5 for $20 million per, so a $100 million contract. But does he sign 3 for 45 right now and say, you've made 10? Because right now, I went back and looked. We think of Chris Bubic out of the bullpen last year. Now what he's doing as a starter. And we remember a couple of years ago when he was a starter. 1 year ago today, do we know what Chris Bubic was doing? Any idea? 1 year? I had to look it up. So May 9th last year. Any idea what was going on with Chris Bubic?
I don't believe he had he started his rehab yet?
He had thrown his first inning of rehab at rookie Arizona Complex League. 1 inning. That was on May 7th. He wouldn't pitch again until May 10th. So on May 9th of 2024, he was in the Arizona Complex League throwing an inning every 4 days. You don't think his rehab is still on his mind from Tommy John and what he had to come back? He's not a year removed from him pitching. He's throwing a shutout against the White Sox at Kauffman. Last year, he was in front of 10 people at the Arizona Rookie League complex, pitching an inning coming back from Tommy John. Maybe a bullpen guy the rest of his career. Now you're a starter if your arm holds up. We believe it will, Chris. 3 years, 45 right now. We're going to buy out a year of free agency. You're going to be 30 as a free agent, but you're going to be a 30-year-old with $55 million in the bank. Or we trade you in the offseason. I feel like it's an either-or with him at this point.
It probably is, and I do wonder if Chris Bubich has that connection of, this is a team that did not give up on me. After I was great in the bullpen, they could have said, sorry, you're great in the bullpen. We're not going to give you another chance to start.
That's a great point.
But this opened the door for this talk about free agency of, man, he's got the 5th lowest ERA in baseball.
He ain't $100 million potential if he's the 8th inning guy right now for the Royals.
No, he'd be very well liked by all Royals fans of being a lockdown guy out of the bullpen. But the Royals are very smart about this, in my opinion, when it comes to extending guys in the rotation. It's what made Cleveland great for years as well, where you'd see them trade, Mike Clevenger when he seemed like he was still great.
Right.
And you're going, why are they trading him?
Right.
Well, they were getting good bats and controllable bats in return. And for the Royals, you can't keep everybody. It's why they extended Michael Wacha when they did. They feel that he can still be an above-average pitcher for the next 2 years. I'm very interested what they're going to do with Lugo because I'm leaning toward this will be his last year. He might test free agency, but they also could go to him and say, if you just gave us another 200-plus inning season, we'll buy this last player option out, and then we'll add another year to it. You just can't keep everybody. And that goes back to our prospect talk of, if you're extending everybody in your rotation, it's very clear that you believe you can't do this again with this group. You can't find another talent like a Chris Bubich. And that's the thing about Chris Bubich. His career looked to be torpedoed back in 2023. Then he has Tommy John. You go, man, this could very well be the end. He finds himself in the bullpen, and now he's clearly found himself in the rotation. I would love to see him give an extension. I'm with you, though. You're going to have to approach him sooner than later because if you let him throw an entire year and he's top 10 in ERA, he's going to go, I'm going to get a lot of money.
I'm 33 starts away from making $100 million.
Exactly.
So I'm going to take my chances that I'm going to be able to pitch what I believe the level I can pitch and be healthy for 33 starts, 34 starts, and go and make that money. The Royals have one pitcher in their starting staff right now, 1 through 5. Only one of those pitchers is under contract after 2027. Oddly enough, that's Michael Wacha, if they pick up the team option. So only if they pick up the team option. All 5 of these guys would have either been or had just become a free agent after the 2027 season. So 2 more years after this entire starting 5 could be gone. How do you replenish that? Do you keep 1 or 2 by paying them? Or do you move 1 or 2, maybe Reagan's? You've got an extra year of Reagan's at would be a cheaper cost. The 2027 season, Reagan's would be much cheaper than Chris Bubich. If you sign Chris Bubich for 2027, it's going to be at least $15 million, I think. And Reagan's is making $7 million or $5 million that year, something like that. To me, I would love to live in a world where Reagan's, Bubich, and Bobby Witt are all signed, in extensions. I just don't think that's reality in baseball right now. So how do you make sure you don't go through this run where you make a World Series and then you have multiple 100-loss seasons to try to get back there? How do you sustain it? You sustain it by taking your medicine. And that medicine might be, sorry, Chris, we got to move you. Sorry, Cole, you got a year and a half of team, it might be next year. You got a year and a half of team control and you're very cheap. We're about to get a king's ransom for you. Sorry, dude. Have fun. But part of that is then going to Bobby and saying, hey, Bobby, when you opt out, stay with us. Because we just traded Bubich and Reagan's and some of these other guys. But stay with us, Bobby, after you opt out, which he's going to do anyway. So we'll take a timeout. We'll come back, wrap up this hour next. $2025. The Royals right now are 7 games over 500, 23-16. They have these games coming up against Boston, Houston, and St. Louis. So 9 games before they head on to an extended road trip at San Francisco and Minnesota. These 9 games, what's their record?
I'm gonna play it safe
Over
Good
the 9
teams.
games.
Yeah, I'm gonna play it safe and say 5-4.
That's
Just
what I
have
went
a winning
with too.
record.
5-4. If you're 6-3, you've won all 3 series essentially. So that would be. I'll take 5-4 right now. Settle out of court. Take a drink. You, Matt Derrick, Dylan Michaels, wait up until 2 o'clock. Chiefs Digest 41 is the Mike podcast for Matt Derrick. Hi, Matt.
Jason, you sound healthy and in great.
Yeah, you know what? It's a Friday. You know what I mean? It's a good day. I'm jealous of my kids today. Typically, I'm not jealous of my kids because I get to talk sports on the air, and then I'm done before they are done at school, and I don't have to go to school and do like math and social studies, and I'm jealous of like recess and PE and stuff, things like that. But today, field day.
Ooh.
Field day. I'm very jealous of the kids today. They got field day, maybe the best day at school. Like field trips are fun, but field day is the best. And it's 75 and sunny today. They're playing like, I guess there's 4-base and 6-base kickball.
Ooh.
They're doing, I've never heard of a 6-base kickball, but there's 6-base kickball. They're doing ultimate football, which is fun. You know, it's where you throw it, but you can't move. Then you got to throw it to somebody else down the field. They catch it. They can't move. If you drop it, the other team gets it. They're doing teams with that. Relay races, tug of war, all of that stuff. I'm like, man, I dropped them off this morning. I'm like, you don't understand how jealous I am of you. I got to go in and talk about the Royals and the Chiefs. You get to do field day today, man. That is awesome. Typically, I'm like, have fun at school. Sucker. Go do your 100 times tables, dummy. I'm going to go talk about Chris Bubich's $100 million contract.
You know, you mention things like that, and all of a sudden my mind goes back. I started thinking about great field days, field trips, all that stuff. 4th grade.
Yeah.
We were a big school, so we had 3 classes of 4th grade. So
how many in each class?
Like 30.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys should have had 4 classes.
Here's the crazy thing. I went in Springfield, Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
I went to the largest elementary school in the city, which was K through 6, 90 kids a class. So that's
Wow.
a lot. That's a lot.
A lot of kids.
To 560 kids, about roughly.
Mm-hmm.
Doing the math there. Thank you. And then, or not, no, 630, right? I'm doing now, trying to do the math.
You're good.
9
You're
times
good.
7 is 63. There you go.
9 times 7 is 63.
But then we were also the same junior high. So for 7th and 8th grade,
Okay.
it was almost all the same kids. We didn't
Right.
really have a feeder school. So we were the smallest junior high.
I see. So it's one elementary goes to a junior high, and some of the
So
other
now
junior highs
we're
have
like-
multiple elementary
So
schools.
there's only like 180 kids.
So now it's like
200 kids
you
in
guys
the
are
junior high.
running the school, man. It's like there's so much space, so much room for activities here.
And we all went to the same. We all grew up together, so we were all same school K through 8. So we go to high school, and we had like 500 kids in our freshman class.
Oh my God! Yeah.
So
yeah.
now it's like, who are all these people? We
Yeah.
don't know who these people are. But in the 4th grade, the teachers held a softball tournament.
Versus the students.
No, it was
Okay.
just all the 4th graders.
Okay.
All the 4th graders, and we drafted our own teams. So, and then we played a round robin tournament for the field day. And I'm just gonna say, as the captain of the team that went 5-0,
Wow, nice.
I will always take that.
You're the Brett Veach of your field day tournament.
Yep.
Good for you, man. Yeah, my 6th grade worst memory of like the field day and looking forward to doing something at Lee Summit Elementary. The 6th graders, the last day, you did like a performance, like it was like a song, something assembly, and then that afternoon, you got to play a softball game against the teachers, right? Or a kickball game, something like that against the teachers. But as a class, and only a few of us, I was part of it. Not smart. There were like 10 of us that completely butchered the song in front of all the parents and everything at this assembly on purpose. We thought it was funny.
Oh.
It was the Michael Jackson Heal the World. And every time we had an S sound, it was make it a better place. You and for me and the entire human race. We thought it was hilarious. They canceled the game that afternoon. No game. There were a lot of 6th graders that were not happy with us. Yeah, and I don't blame them because I was pretty disappointed too. I'm like, that was a dumb decision. That was pretty stupid. Why did we think that would be funny anyway? Because we were 6th graders.
But you know what? You learn actions have consequences.
100%, yeah. Yep. Now I go back every year in 6th grade and I beat the hell out of those teachers in softball. Oh, it's ridiculous. I just show up. No, I still think about it to this day. Never got to play in that game. It's my own fault. Actions, consequences. But the kids have field day today. Those are so fun, man. Matt, Derek, and I will have a field day talking about this Chiefs team.
Segways!
Brett Veach had a field day with the rest of the NFL. Am I right?
I love segues.
Yes. You and Nick, I believe it's your latest 41 is the Mic podcast. I haven't checked this morning.
You should just, in case, go listen to all of them, just in case.
That's true. Yeah. But I believe it, unless you've released one this morning, I believe your latest one is you guys talking about the rookie mini camp and things you can glean and take away.
Yep.
So let's start from that. You're out there, you're watching them run around in their jerseys and do different routes and,
We
things.
have Carl Peterson. Don't learn much about football players watching them run around in their underwear.
What do you learn, though? What can you take away? Like, what's the importance, or I should say the value? What's the value from maybe your perspective, and even the Chiefs, from getting those guys out there? I mean, for some of them, like 1 week to the day that they were drafted. A lot of them, really, except for 3 of them. Four. All but 4 of them, it was 1 week to the day that they were drafted or signed, that they're out there now with the Chiefs uniform on, probably drowning in like information and everything. What do you learn? What's the value from your perspective and maybe the Chiefs' perspective in that?
That's a great question, because I think there is a lot of value, and it has nothing to do with individual performances. I mean, catches in a mini camp and everything don't really mean anything, and especially because it's a passing camp, so that's what you're going to learn. I mean, you're not going to learn about offensive line or defensive line guys. Not much. But here's the thing that I think there's the one aspect, and maybe there's a couple of elements to this, but one, I think you learn about the comfort level that players get in the system, because if they show a greater comfort every single day of minicamp, that shows you that they're probably going to get it. You know, they've got the ability. You know, they need to get past the nerves, and once they get past the nerves, can they perform? And you see that. I mean, Xavier Worthy was a great example last year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you heard all the stories. You read everybody writing about the fact that day one couldn't hold on to the football, just dropped it all over the place.
And then come like mini camp or training camp. Oh, look at him get pushed around. He got bodied up.
And like that day, the wind was blowing like 50 miles an hour. It was just absolutely brutal. And then on top of that, you know, you have quarterbacks you've never worked with before.
That's a good point. Who
also don't know what they're doing most of the time. So, you know, but then we saw him catch pretty much everything he saw for the next couple of days. So, hey, it's one thing you throw it out, especially when you see the progression. And so I can't remember a single player that I've seen who, you know, one, if they showed progression, you know, throughout the weekend, you just saw them get better and better and better. That's usually a really good thing. Those are the kind of players that usually end up working in the NFL. And I'm not going to do this to throw anybody under the bus, but the other thing you can see is you find out who understands and picks up things and gets the game of football and knows what they're doing and who doesn't. And that also is pretty telling, because I can tell you that there are guys that I have seen at a rookie minicamp who did not know what they were doing and have never figured out what they're doing. It's just, it sticks with you. I mean, if you can't pick up some certain elements in 3 days, I mean, if you don't know where to line up by the third day of minicamp, you know what? There's a pretty good chance you're never going to get it. And that's just the kind of reality of it. So, you know, and I will say this, and I don't know if I do think it's, I mean, coaches deserve a lot of credit, but this was like, I feel like one of the best rookie mini camps that I've ever seen.
Interesting.
And a lot of that is obviously on the offense, because they're the ones that can really mess things up the most. There was one like really bad botch snapped where 21 guys moved, and the only guy who didn't was the center. I mean, it was the best one of all time.
It's the exact opposite of the Raiders.
It was literally, everybody, the offense jumped, and they moved, and the defense was like, we're going.
Center was still sitting there.
Center's just sitting there with the ball.
Best call in football.
That was fantastic.
Offsides, everyone but the center.
Everyone but the center. That's right.
But the quarterbacks knew what they were doing. You know, and I think a lot of that was Chris Oladokun. I mean, having him there, you know, a veteran guy who's been around for a while. I mean, been around for the Chiefs now. I think this is his third, you know, rookie mini camp. So he's been able to teach these guys and everything. I mean, that's, I think, a testament to him. I mean, even if he's not necessarily the world's greatest, you know, quarterback or anything. I mean, I think it shows, you know, just how smart a guy he is and how hard he's worked. So I think he deserves a little bit of that credit. But it was well coached. I mean, I think it also speaks to the quality of the players that the Chiefs brought in. Their scouts continue to find undrafted free agents. They continue to find, you know, bring in good guys for tryouts. You know, it's not just, scouting is not just the guys you get on draft day. It can be on further down. I mean, not even just the undrafted free agents, but I mean, I know there are going to be teams around the league that, and the Chiefs have been in this spot before, that they're going to have rookie mini camps that if you watched them, you would think that was the first day most of them ever played football. Because they're not going to be, you know, great players. I mean, there's going to be bad scouting.
And they also have to learn how to practice as a pro as well. Like, you can't be going 100 miles an hour. Like, you'll hear, as Matt's probably heard in his sleep now at this point, is stay off the ground.
Stay off the ground. Oh, man.
He wakes up from nightmares yelling stay off the ground.
If you're an offensive lineman or defensive lineman that falls during one of those drills, I mean,
see ya.
You might as well have hit on their wife, on the coach's wife. That's how upset they are.
Yeah, there's no
Stay
reason
off
to be
the ground.
There is no reason to be on the ground at a rookie mini camp.
Right. The knees are going to get taken out at that point. So stay off the ground. Yeah. It is interesting too when you talk about like the scouting, because it's not just the undrafted free agents. The Chiefs signed 2 players that were invited to minicamp. The
3, I think.
3 of them, because the last I saw were 2. The kid from Carson Newman, and then the wide receiver Holiday kid, or maybe I flipped those.
The linebacker McDonald.
That's right, McDonald was signed. So they got 3 guys that were just invited to minicamp that have got themselves a job for, you know, a month or 2 or however long. Who knows? They got a foot in the door.
And honestly, I think that the two of the best guys, and one for sure, one of the very best. I thought Keyshawn Smith from TCU, receiver, probably the best tryout guy in the camp.
Did they sign him or?
Did not. He was going out to the Raiders for their minicamp this weekend. So probably a little bit of him wanting to, see if he gets a second offer, or how things work out in
Makes
Vegas.
sense, yeah.
Can also be a little bit of, remember, this is the first week that the Chiefs are back in the building, so they're seeing some of their new guys for the first time. So they might want a little bit of look at it. The other guy, kid from Olathe that went to Pittsburgh, Nate Matlack.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Nick loved him, and I watched him on day 2 more closely. So, a really nice player. So I thought he had a really good camp. He's going to the Steelers mini camp this weekend. So, yeah, that might be a reason why if the Chiefs were interested, maybe both sides were like, hey, we're going to see what happens in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, not like the Chiefs were looking at replacing Harrison Butker or anything like that, but Chris Tennant heading to the Broncos for a mini camp, and I don't know what the contract status is of Will Lutz, if he's still there or if there's like more of an open competition for, a guy that was 31 of 34 last year. So, I mean, he was fine for them, but maybe they're looking at getting cheaper as opposed to a guy who's entering his 9th year in the NFL, and what contract that would be, I don't know. But you got invited to the Chiefs, you get invited to the Broncos, you're on people's radar, at least.
And, I mean, let's face it, it's Dave Tobe. I mean,
it's true.
One, he's got talent for spotting talent.
Yes.
So anybody that Dave Tobe's interested in, you should be interested in too. I mean, so you should absolutely be looking to see who Dave Tobe brings in for kicking, and you bring him in the next weekend because they've already learned something. And I'll tell you what, Eddie Zaplicki.
Yeah.
The punter. I mean, not that you have to necessarily know talent to get the Ray Guy winner, but kid's got a leg.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's the thing. There's a lot of criticism of Matt Araiza for just maybe not having the touch last year that the Chiefs were hoping that he would have.
A good portion of it coming from me.
Remember,
guilty.
Also out of football for 2 years.
Yeah, I know.
Didn't kick for 2 years.
I just didn't want him to try to be so fine and drop it in the 5-yard line.
Yeah.
Just like, the 20 to the 1, there's a lot. Anything inside the 20, you're gaining yards. Yeah. If you kick it in the end zone, they get it at the 20. If it's at the 15, it's better.
Chiefs feel like the only way you're going to get better is if you feel pressure. Yeah. And so he's got pressure because this kid's good. I still expect Matt Araiza to be the punter for this team.
Well, if this kid, he better be as good of a holder as Matt Araiza if he's going to beat him out for the job.
And exactly. I mean, Araiza was nails as a holder. I mean, there was no issue there.
Yep.
But that's the other thing is that the longer that this kid sticks around with Dave Tobe, you're just guaranteeing an NFL career. Yeah. Because I mean, who are the best punters in the league right now?
3 of them are
Jack Fox,
and
Tommy Townsend,
and
Ryan Reckow.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and from just a pure leg standpoint, Araiza, from just being able to kick and flip the field.
You spend 3 months with Dave Tobe is like a masterclass in kicking and punting. So,
what did you see from, if anything? Like I've gone ahead and counted Brining Stool on my initial 53-man roster. I thought it was a great undrafted free agent, priority free agent signing, especially when so many people had him listed as one of the top available. And then I hear Andy Reid called him to get him to sign. Like he was 5 different teams were, trying to get him to sign. And then Andy Reid calls you.
The closer gets on the phone
to say we want you. It's a little different when it's like, okay, this area scout was like, hey, we want to sign you. What are you looking at? Let's talk to your agent. And Andy Reid calling you and saying, hey, you want to come in and play with Patrick Mahomes and learn from Travis Kelce and be in the tight end room, and we're not just giving you sort of like this. Cursory call or whatever, and just giving it. No, I'm Andy Reid calling you saying we want you in camp. I'm like, all right, there's your 4th tight end. At this point, like you've got your 3, and maybe it's an insurance policy for Jared Wiley's knee as well with the ACL. But I'm a little more high on him, having not seen anything from him in rookie minicamp at all, because I wasn't out there. Just knowing the interest level from the Chiefs and the fact that Andy Reid was the one that got on the phone with him to say, we want you to come here and play.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I mean, from seeing him at rookie minicamp, there's a lot to like there. I mean, once again, day one, little butterflies. I think he had a drop on like the first pass that he saw on Saturday.
I've been telling everybody he sucks. I've been trying to tell everybody terrible sign.
Sunday, he was one of those guys that you're looking for. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, do you put the butterflies away? If you have any butterflies on day one, which almost everybody does. I mean, if you saw the press conferences, every guy who came to the podium on day one had the butterflies. I mean, I'm trying to remember which one of them was that thought that it was going to be like a scrum and that we were just all going to jump on him when he walked in the room.
Was it Gelati?
I think it might have been Gelati. Yeah,
It might have been Gelati. It was like, I didn't know. I thought
like,
you guys were just
going to work, and I thought you were just going to all jump me and everything, and so. So I mean, and so a couple of guys were like, I mean, you could tell were really nervous coming to the podium. Day two, I mean, they were once they saw, oh, that's how it goes. Okay, it gets so much better. And Breening's still even on the field. I mean, players are the same way, and I see exactly why the Chiefs liked him. I mean, he does a really good. I think he obviously played some basketball in his past because does a really good job of putting his body between the defender and the football. Goes out to get the football, not a bunch of body catches. He's big, 6'6", got long arms, so great catch radius. I mean, he's the big target, and that's the thing that you hear kind of, people when they're – and Andy Reid maybe even said this publicly, I don't know, but I can't remember for sure. But, Patrick likes bigger targets. I mean, that's his preference. I mean, that's the reason why Travis Kelce gets the football, because he's a bigger guy. Breening Stool's got like an inch or two on Travis Kelce. I mean, he's a big player. So I think that's going to be attractive to Mahomes.
At one point, Andy Reid did say something about, and I don't remember the reference to it, but I thought it was a tight end, and there was something along the lines of a low post player, and I can't remember who he was talking about, but it was as a receiver, sort of that low post player. If you're boxing a guy
that's
out
exactly
to get the
what
rebound.
Breening Stool looks like. I mean, when the ball's coming his way, he basically boxes out defenders, and didn't really seem to matter was it a linebacker or a safety or a corner. I mean, he seemed to be able to handle everybody.
We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. A few things I want to talk to Matt Derrick about. One of those being Josh Simmons. I know there isn't much to take away from that, but I want to get Matt's thoughts on what he heard from Andy Reid talking about Josh Simmons. We'll discuss some moves made around the NFL. Gabe Davis released. George Pickens is traded. Josh Jacobs had comments about when he was with the Raiders and how they viewed the Chiefs. And also looking at some of the positional groups that Brett Veach has overhauled since the Super Bowl against the 49ers. We'll get into all of that as we continue rolling along. 913-912-4810. More Zone right after this. Matt Derrick, Chiefs Digest 41 is the Mike podcast. It's just beautiful music, man.
Indeed.
Much better than Yacht Rock. This was what
absolutely.
we heard a lot of Sterling singing Yacht Rock yesterday during Sports or Leisure. Take this all day. All day. This should be
Sterling's
the music.
a yacht rocker for sure.
100%. Yeah. This should be the music that you rock out on the yacht. This should be the stuff that you're enjoying.
It's what I would do, yes.
100%, man. Matt Derrick is our guest. Chiefs Digest 41 is the Mike podcast. All right, so you asked Andy Reid the question. Dylan, this is the clip that loaded in a little bit ago. Should be clip number 4 there. You asked Andy Reid the question about impressions of Josh Simmons. There was a follow-up there with it, but I want to get your thoughts on what you heard from Andy Reid talking about Josh Simmons and if there's anything to sort of glean or filter out, or we can take some Andyisms and connect the dots of what we think he's saying. Let's all take a listen. This is Andy Reid asked by Matt Derrick about Josh Simmons and the early impressions of what you see at camp.
We're just kind of getting a feel where he's at with this. So he had a kind of a heavy travel schedule during the 30 visit thing. So just make sure that thing's strong and going. But he looks like he's got some talent there, Matt. I got it. That's a good thing, right? So for what we can do, that's a plus.
And his injury aside, how will you, I realize this is a months-long process of evaluation before the season starts, but how will you just evaluate his preparedness to play?
Yeah, it looks like he's moving around. He's right on that kind of that where he just needs a little bit more time, but he's moving around well. I was surprised on how well he was doing out there moving. Yeah, he looks like he's comfortable with it.
So I'll just ask, what did you hear from, besides you getting a Matt the doggone it? Matt, doggone it?
You know, sometimes there's even a message in the doggone.
Yes, I know, right? That's true. So what did you hear with that follow-up answer about Josh Simmons, how he's looked, and the injury of, what they feel like they can get from him?
I mean, it's hard for me to just disconnect what I saw and what I hear.
That's great, yeah.
So, I mean, you put the two together, and it's like, yes, he was on the field, but he did not do that much. And, I thought it was interesting, mentioning the travel and everything like this, because it seemed to suggest that, hey, you know what, the guys had a lot of activity, so, maybe back off of him a little bit. I mean, you don't normally, and this is the thing, is that, the rookie minicamp kind of exists in its own world outside of practice world, because things can happen at the rookie minicamp that don't necessarily impact what happens. And I mean this from just a, procedural standpoint, which is that, I mean, if what, and this is actually a good thing, I mean, what Josh Simmons, if he had done that during OTAs, I mean, he would be considered basically a limited participant. I mean, he would not be a non-participant. I mean, he would have been, and as such, it would have been, hey, if you want to go to training camp and you want to put him on non-football injury list, you wouldn't be able to, because he did just a little bit too much. Rookie minicamp, though, doesn't really count.
I see.
So, I
Interesting.
mean, if the Chiefs want that possibility, if they want to keep open the option, and that is still one of the options, is starting training camp with him on the side on non-football injury, and I mean, procedurally, it's a great thing, because if you do that and then he has a setback during training camp, then you've got the option that if you need to keep him out at the beginning of the season on non-football injury, you can do that.
So as an aside, real quick, before you finish that point, the difference between the PUP and the non-football injury for those listening.
PUP is basically for previous injuries or any football-related injury. It could be anything that happened.
Happened
obviously
in
the
NFL.
It happened in the NFL
because his is a previous injury, but it was in college.
Right.
Okay.
College injuries are considered non-football injury.
Okay.
So non-football injury would also be like if you're a current player and you hurt yourself weightlifting or you fell off a roof or something like that.
Right.
I mean, those are going to be
That's
non-football
why you should have called pyramid
injury.
roofing.
But
dummies.
College injuries are considered non-football injuries. So it's just it's a little bit of a distinction.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it falls back into if you do anything during OTAs, that takes away your ability to use non-football injury designation going into training camp, because then it's like, nope, you're cleared to do football activities. If something happens to you that now causes you not to be able to do football activities, it doesn't go back to your college injury. It's like you've done something new, so therefore that's not applicable.
Could you then place him on the PUP list?
Can't put.
So if you do anything
training camp, you are ineligible.
So anything
for
OTAs or anything like that,
right?
So you couldn't go into training camp and put him on you would have to put him on the PUP or the non-football injury list right now. Can you do it currently?
You don't have to do it now. You only have to do it at the beginning of training camp.
Okay.
So
I'm just trying to get the distinction of if something happens over OTAs and we don't see Josh Simmons working out, that maybe it's not like a setback. It might be procedural for them.
And it could absolutely be procedural. And we could also see the scenario where he does a little bit during training or during off-season training activities and the OTAs, and then still starts on the side in training camp just because they want to be cautious and they don't want to push him too fast, too hard. And that was, that's probably what I heard from Andy Reid the most right there, which was that we don't want to push this kid too fast, too hard. And I think he was trying to take a little bit of pressure off of the injury itself and just say, hey, no, not this guy had a lot more travel than everybody else. He had to do a lot more activities, so we're just going to, back off of him and take it slow. Well, it's because of the knee. It's not because of the travel.
Right,
but,
for sure.
That's Andy, putting the fatherly little coach spin on it.
He did. I mean,
respect it.
Yeah, the first thing he says though is well, he's got some talent there. Matt, doggone it. There's some there, and it's and he said that's a good thing from what we can do. Is that okay? And I think what he's saying is his baseline talent is good enough to where what we can do with him right now, luckily he's already at this level, because if he wasn't and he needed a lot more developing, it'd be an issue because we can't do much with him right now to develop him. That's what I hear from that is he's got some talent, and that's a good thing from what we can do right now, which isn't much. So thankfully this guy is already up here talent-wise, that when we can start doing more with him, we don't have to build from the ground up like maybe a Kingsley or a Wanya or somebody else that might be more of a project, Esapol or something like that, more of a project that hasn't played as much or as natural ability as him. That's the one thing that I heard, and also him saying he's right on that line of we don't want to push it, but also we feel like he's kind of close to where we can start doing more with him. And so that's where the part of, because that was my takeaway in hearing right on the line is oh, wow, the next time they're there practicing, we might see more from Josh Simmons. But if he's not doing much or anything, knowing that the option of having the NFI as opposed to the PUP might be more important than wearing a jersey and shorts and being in a rep with the third team as opposed to taking a mental rep with the third team and having NFI as an option entering training camp, which doesn't have an end date on it like the PUP list, right?
Yeah, well, I believe on NFI, I think it's the same in that you're going to miss the first 6 weeks of the season if you start the season on it.
But then with PUP, after the first 6 weeks, you can activate them or they're out for the year?
Correct. With NFI, it's different. I mean,
you can keep. You got to miss 6 weeks, but after that, you can miss 8 or 10 or 11.
That's my recollection. Yes.
Yeah, and so that's where that would be the value of the NFI to have him as opposed to the PUP.
Yeah, no, there's some serious benefits, and it's a little bit different this year because one of the huge benefits of starting a player on NFI or PUP was that you could keep them on that list. Therefore, they were all going to miss the first 6 weeks of the season, but then you could bring them back. But now I think it's 2 players you're going to be allowed to put on injured reserve starting the beginning of the season. Now, again, with him, that would be a little tricky.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they would get away with it because if he started training camp and did some things, then I think he would certainly be eligible for injured reserve if they had to shut him down at the beginning of the season. Considering it's a college injury, I'm sure the NFLPA would have some theories on that, but it shouldn't be an issue. But that is at least it's easier now because if you're a team, you might be more willing to let a player like that come back, and knowing that if they have a setback, now you can put them on injured reserve without, killing their entire season.
But do you want to use one of your two before the season even starts?
Right, because if you got two more injuries, now you got
only
got
one of them.
Sophie's choice.
Yes, exactly right. And which kid do I want to bring off the?
Exactly.
Which one am I going to go with?
But all this conversation brings me to a point, which is that, and we may have talked about this last week too. I mean, what's the dream scenario for the Chiefs? The dream scenario is that Jalen Moore plays so great at left tackle that you don't want to replace him. And Jawan Taylor on the other side plays so great, you don't want to replace him. They're both healthy the entire season, and Josh Simmons just watches and learns and gets healthier and works out and everything. And then in 2026, Jawan Taylor, his contract with the big cap hit next season, you walk away from that. Jalen Moore swings over to the right side. Josh Simmons becomes your left tackle, and everybody, lives happily ever after. I mean, that's a dream scenario.
And you essentially got an extra first-round draft pick for 2026 because you would have a guy that didn't play this year that would be sliding in to play left tackle as, a second-year contract, but really sort of a rookie in playing time.
Because if Josh Simmons plays this year, something bad has happened. It either means that either Jawan Taylor and Jalen Moore, one or both of them, are playing terribly or are hurt. And I don't think either one of those are good things.
It's a good point, like something bad from that standpoint. In my mind, my first instinct was, okay, so does it have to be something bad, or can it be that something good is that Josh Simmons looks so good that they feel like, well, we're going to play him above Jalen Moore? But I don't know that they go into training camp wanting Josh Simmons to start week one at left tackle the way that they went into training camp last year wanting Kingsley Suamataia to win the starting job and be the left tackle in week number one. And I don't know that that's the case with Josh Simmons. So does something bad have to happen for Simmons to be playing? Well, from that standpoint, if that's the case, it would be either Jalen Moore did not perform at a level they felt comfortable with, and they were seeing Josh Simmons healthy and doing those things, or Jalen Moore went down for a little bit, and so Josh Simmons got to play, and you went, oh, we're not taking this. Jalen Moore is now Wally Pipp. We're not taking Josh Simmons out of this spot. If Jalen Moore is just really good, and Jawan Taylor is just – I don't think they're going to bench Jawan Taylor this year. Penalties suck. Outside of the penalties, he's fine. Like, it's not Kingsley at the left tackle spot over there at right tackle. Jawan Taylor is – brought down a peg or two from how good people think he is because the contract is baked into our opinion on Jawan Taylor. Because the contract for Andrew Wiley was baked into our opinion of how well Andrew Wiley was playing.
Sure.
Because he wasn't really making anything and it was sort of found money. Then you spend $20 million on a right tackle and he's better than Wiley, but not $15 million better than Wiley, so therefore he's not any good. He's fine at the right tackle spot. So my first instinct is, well, what if it's something really good happens? But even if something really good happens and Josh Simmons is so good and available to play, he would also then pass up somebody that I believe is the leader in the clubhouse, that if he just plays at the level the Chiefs feel like he can be, he'll be starting at left tackle, being Jalen Moore.
And I think over the last 4 years, I'm trying to remember Jalen Moore's numbers. Was it like 900 snaps that he played? And I can't remember how many pass blocking snaps, but okay, let's say he plays 1,000, playing on 1,000 snap average. I think he gave up 5 sacks in that period of time too. So let's say he goes out there in his first 200 snaps, he gives up 1 sack. If you're the Chiefs, are you going to say to yourself, you know what, we could be getting better play with Josh Simmons. Let's go ahead and just take him out and put in Josh Simmons? Or do you just not fix what's not broken? Do you fix what's not broken? I don't think you fix what's not broken. So if Jalen Moore's playing great, why, in the world would you pull him out?
Yeah, so looking at his reps, pass blocking, so total reps 830, pass blocking reps 446 out of the 830 in his career over those 4 years. 158 this last year.
A little over 50%. That sounds right.
2024, giving up a sack. All right, we'll take a timeout. We'll come back, continue rolling. A couple things to still talk about with Matt Derrick, Josh Jacobs with the Raiders. We'll weigh in on that. And then I definitely want to look with Matt Derrick at the positional spots for the Chiefs as they stand right now and what sort of an expected 53-man roster would look like compared to that Super Bowl against the 49ers and just a couple of off seasons, what Brett Veach has done in revamping some spots. We'll talk about that coming up here before we let Matt Derrick go. Mick Schaefer joins us later on in the show. More Zone next.
hey, I'm in New York, and I'm going to the the theater where they famously keep it at like 42 degrees. So it's like, hey, I need a little sweatshirt action and everything. I'll just wear my favorite, most comfortable sweatshirt.
There you go. And you're rocking a Duke sweater. So good for you, man. Yeah. No,
if Missouri had been better at basketball
back
in
then
like
they were
1981 and 82, which they were still pretty good.
Yeah. That's when you went to the Letterman show, was 81 and 82?
No, but that was when I became a Duke fan. Because when I was a kid, I traditionally became fans of my local teams. And then if my local teams were not good, I picked another team.
Okay.
To also watch and everything.
So the Chiefs, what football team were you also a fan of? Maybe we figured this out before.
Come on, the Dallas Cowboys.
Dallas Cowboys, yeah. You were an America's team. That makes sense, yeah.
I grew up in Springfield, Missouri. So and especially after the Cardinals left St. Louis, Dallas was our NFC team. So we got Dallas games every single week.
That's a good point.
Like, Dallas. I mean, and I was I was a kid in the 70s, I mean, when I became of age, where I remember everything, as far, it seems like it was all in like a 1-3 month period. Because I was old enough for like the 76 Olympics. I was old enough for, the Royals-Yankees series in the 70s. I don't remember any of them. But I remember the 1979 World Series. I remember the January 1980 Super Bowl. And I remember the Olympics in February 1980. So between October of 79 and February of 80 was like I became aware of all sports.
Yes.
So at that point, it was like, okay, well, who's good? So in basketball, I rooted for the Kings. Kings were good. I mean, they were okay. I mean, I think they were like, number 1 seeds, 1 point and everything like that. But, they weren't like winning championships or anything.
Yeah.
But who was winning championships? The Lakers.
The Lake Show.
To Matt's
And
credit,
Magic.
though, the Cowboys didn't win a Super Bowl with any I think that was the year that Roger retired, or maybe the year before.
And Roger was my favorite player.
And so then it was Danny White, which he went to like 3 straight NFC Championship games.
They were good. They were good. Yeah.
So Matt was not a bandwagon Cowboys
Tony
fan.
D. Yeah. Ed Tall Jones. Harvey Martin.
And it's continued because they've gone to a lot of NFC Championship games recently. In the last 20 years.
They've challenged
30 years.
You know what? I mentioned this to Josh Briscoe once, which I shouldn't. Briscoe.
Yeah,
he's
absolutely
dead to us all. But
he's still with us, I think. Can somebody check?
Yeah, technically.
Can somebody find that out? Is this news today?
I shouldn't say things like that about my good friends. But we were discussing the Duke situation, photo once and everything, and I revealed there's a nugget in that picture that nobody has ever noticed before.
Okay.
And I know that some of it's just because of the quality of the image.
Okay.
But in that picture...
Do you have like a mustache or something?
No. I am wearing a fossil watch of the Dallas Cowboys.
Wow. So you were one of those traditional, real fans of a Dallas Cowboy, a Duke Blue Devil, and a Los Angeles Laker.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you, man.
I picked them all like in 1979. So,
yeah, right. I mean,
well, Duke was a little bit later because it was when Coach K got to Duke that I became a fan.
Yeah, well, you were a fan of Army, and then you followed Coach K over to Duke. That makes total
Roger
sense.
Staubach, Navy, it all makes sense.
One more segment with Matt Derrick next. All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, hanging out with Matt Derrick. One more segment. Chiefs Digest 41 is the Mike podcast. Mick Schaefer will join us later on this hour. So Josh Jacobs was on the podcast of Bussin' with the Boys with Will Compton, Taylor Lewan, and it was a fascinating interview. Like, he got into a lot of stuff from high school to recruitment to being at Alabama to getting drafted to the Raiders to what he felt like the locker room was like to then leaving the Raiders to all of the stuff that went down between he and Mark Davis and the Raiders. Like, there was a lot of information that he told there. He was incredibly candid. So this dude was out there telling his truth for a while. But one of the things that came up was Will Compton was on that Raiders team in 2021 with Josh Jacobs that went out there and decided to dance on the Chiefs logo before the game. And Danon Hughes was there and tweeted it out and everything. And it starts just gaining national attention. The Chiefs, after the game, clearly knew about it before the game, and I think the final score was like 42-8 or something like that, or 40-9. It was a whitewashing. I know the Chiefs were up 35-0 in that game. I know that they led at one point 35-0 in that game. So here's Josh Jacobs, and part of his commentary on the Raiders was just like, you know, this was such a dysfunctional locker room that I'm going into, and it was just so much different of a culture from Alabama, that Alabama, like, everybody is mad and pissed when you lose. And he was like, we'd lose a game in Oakland and people would just be laughing and having fun in the locker room after it's over. And I'm like down and not necessarily crying, but I'm pissed. I'm mad that we lost. And dudes were like, man, get used to it, dude. It's the NFL, man. We're going to lose a lot of games. And he's like, what in the hell is going on here, man? So part of it was that. So here is Josh Jacobs' perspective when they bring up the jumping on the Chiefs logo before that 2021 game.
We came in, you know, the boys wanted to go on the logo with the Chiefs, and we got our ass whooped.
Come on.
And Josh is in the locker room after the game fuming about, like, you know, whether guys are happy about it. But he legitimately gets pissed off anytime that we lost. And he'd be asking guys, he'd be talking to guys, like, maybe he'd pull me aside, like, hey, you just got here, like, what are you seeing right now?
Yeah,
he'd be asking guys, like, he'd be like polling everybody.
See, the problem with me, let me get to the logo question. I told them, do not do that shit. It's dumb. We are their stepbrothers. We're the little brother at that point. We ain't beat them enough to deserve that right. We not even winning enough to deserve that right to go do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was dumb. I remember what I said exactly, because I didn't go do it. I stayed back. I'm like, they not finna catch me on that logo, and then we lose, and then we lose.
Who was it?
Will was in the middle.
Yeah, I'm like,
I was in the middle. I was in the middle, but who was
Remember, I told everybody.
it was Yannick.
Yannick, he was the one that started. He the one that started.
Yannick has that mentality, though.
But hey, Yannick's a worker,
I
too.
heard that.
Yannick
Patrick
grinds,
told me
bro.
the
He
same
started
thing.
it though.
He
really
did. He was getting everybody up.
But I told him, I was like, my exact words was, if y'all gonna do it, y'all better stand on that. I'm like, we better win, literally, because you can't do like that and
What
not
was the
win.
score of that game?
We got blew out.
We got blew out.
I say y'all never. I was hot in the locker room.
We got our asses.
I was hot.
Oh, we're not good. Uniforms look good. We're not.
48-9 was the final score there in that game. And how about that? Like, that was year 3 for Josh Jacobs. And they were 6-6 at that time. Maybe feeling themselves a little bit. And they come into Kansas City, and that happens. And just hearing that guy's like, what are you guys doing? I am not, you guys, we're the little brother to this team. 1, we haven't beat them enough. 2, we aren't winning in general enough. What in the hell is wrong with you guys? Like, that perspective from Josh Jacobs was really interesting as to why he was on the sideline watching these dudes jump on the logo before they lost by 41 points. Or 39 points, I guess, 48-9. They're losing by 39 points.
Boy, and he nailed it, because it's like, if you do that, you better back it up. And
They did not.
They did not back it up.
They did not back it up, man. But just thinking of like the dysfunction of that locker room, and no wonder it turned out to be the way that it was. Just like, because Will Compton was the first one talking there. He got to the Raiders in 21, and he was like, and Josh would come up to me. He's like, "What are you seeing? What do you see here? What do you take it away? This is year 3 for Josh Jacobs. It's like, is this normal? Like, Will, you've been around to different teams. What are you seeing here? This is these dudes don't want to win, man.
That's such a smart question. I mean,
Yeah.
That tells me a lot about Josh Jacobs.
For sure.
He's that kind of. Because I don't know a lot of NFL players who would do that.
I learned a lot.
I certainly haven't had to cover that many players in Kansas City who've been in a position to have to ask that question.
I learned a lot from listening to that interview with Josh Jacobs, and I came away with a different perspective of Josh. I don't know what my perspective was other than him being a Raider, and being a fantastic running back that led the league in rushing yards, in 2022. Before going through the holdout and the contract dispute with the Raiders because they didn't want to sign him, and then he signs the deal with the Packers, and he's phenomenal, and then they take Ashton Genty, and we'll see what ends up happening with that. But just his thoughts on life makes so much sense now thinking of that because, he talked about, we'll play this clip later on with Mick Schaefer, but he talked about in the recruiting process, like, he wasn't trying to go to the NFL. He just wanted to get a free education so he could go into business or pre-law. It was like, I don't care who's recruiting me. It ain't a status thing of who's recruiting me to play running back because he was lightly recruited. He was a 3-star recruit, like New Mexico State. He was going to go there. And he's like, I don't care. I just want to go to college so I can get my degree and education. I can go run a business, do something to where now I get to start my life, right? And so you've got that guy that came from his upbringing and making it through college, being a first-round draft pick, being a winner everywhere he's gone, and then getting there and these veterans are a bunch of losers. Like these guys, we are never going to win like this, ever. And it's really interesting because Derek Carr was viewed as this great leader, right? A leader of men, but he was on those teams where apparently people were just fine losing and just going about their business. I can't imagine, even if it gets rough for the Chiefs and Andy Reid isn't around anymore, I just can't imagine Patrick Mahomes being on a team where there would be players that would be laughing hey, rookie, get used to losing, man. This is, don't take it too seriously. You're going to really get down on yourself if you take losing too seriously because it's going to happen a lot around here.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully if you're in Kansas City, you never see that situation that Patrick Mahomes is, dragging around a team that's not got it.
Yeah.
But I mean, hey, that would probably not go well.
Yeah, I can't imagine that. But
but honestly, that's why sometimes good players obviously want out of bad organizations.
Yeah.
Because if you want to win and nobody else cares,
yep.
And let's face it, the money is good enough here now that some guys don't care.
Yeah, and he was even talking about he's like, he didn't want to go to Green Bay. He didn't want to leave Vegas. He didn't want to leave the Raiders. And he said, I built a brand new custom house and I didn't get to live a day in it.
Yeah.
He's like, I wasn't planning on leaving. But every time they got a contract offer from somebody, they'd go back to the Raiders and the Raiders like, no, we're not going to give you that many years. Okay. Can we meet in the middle? No. Well, here's the money there. Can you guys match it? No. Okay, well, this is what you're offering. Can you meet in the middle of what you're offering and what they're offering? No. Well, then we don't have to talk anymore. You clearly don't want to sign me. You want to sign me only if I'm going to take this crazy discount, and I'm not going to do that when I've got 3 other teams that are trying to sign me to this contract. I'm trying to give you a hometown discount. He was talking about, he and Max Crosby were having these conversations about trying to sort of intermediary get things done, right? I want to stay here as a Raider. I'm going to take less money and maybe even, a less year to stay here, but I'm not going to take what they're offering because it's so far and away lower than what other people are offering me. Can we just get to this point and I'm good and I'm signing? And they were like, nope, not getting that year, not going to that money. Okay, well, I'm leaving for Green Bay. It's a guy that was trying to offer you a hometown discount, Thought that was really interesting. Matt Derrick is our guest. I want to talk about some of the positional spots that we're looking at with the Chiefs and what Brett Veach has been able to do. And I started thinking about this when I was discussing the wide receiver spot a few days ago and looking at like the difference of, in fact, I think it was a conversation we were having with Adam Teicher. And I was like, man, I'm just thinking back to 2023 when they started. We went to training camp talking about this wide receiver core in 2023 and breaking camp. And the fun conversation, Matt, was they have so many receivers. How can you cut somebody? You know, I remember how foolish, it was back then now. At the time, you're like, man, you've got MVS. You've got Sky Moore. You've got Kadarius Toney. You've got Justin Watson. You've got Justin Ross. You've got Richie James. You've got, what, was McCole Hardman at that time? Or no, they ended up trading back for McCole Hardman after that time. You've got all these players. How could you possibly cut one of them? And now how foolish that was to look back upon in that time. But, like, they go from having Rice. Oh, because Rashee Rice was a rookie. So that's the one I was leaving out of thinking of, like, the 6 or 7 guys. Like, how did you possibly, come away with MVS, Watson, James, Sky, Kadarius Toney, Justin Ross, and Rashee Rice as a rookie? It's like you've got so much talent. And obviously that's not the case. And what they've done at wide receiver, Matt, is exchange MVS, Watson, Richie James, and Kadarius Toney for Xavier Worthy, Hollywood Brown, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Jalen Royals in a matter of 2 years. I mean, that's a massive overhaul at one particular position. There are some other positions that are better. I think there are some positions that are worse because that's going to be the life of a 2-year window for an NFL team. But the wide receiver core specifically, we said they trade Tyreek Hill. They were the number 1 offense in the league. They win the Super Bowl. They come back that next year. They don't re-sign Juju. They go and draft Rashee Rice, and they're going to put it together with these guys. And how awful that was to then sort of, to a degree, Matt, in that offseason of never again with Patrick Mahomes. We're not going to have him have a group of people that cannot catch the ball and just be as frustrated as MVS dropping a touchdown against the Eagles and Kadarius Toney lining up off sides and Toney dropping the pick 6 against the Lions and dropping the interception against the Patriots and Sky Moore running the wrong route or whatever it might be. Because in that time, Hollywood, Xavier Worthy, Jalen Royals, and re-signing Juju Smith-Schuster. Like, this wide receiver core is unbelievable with how good they are. And that's just the difference of that and now, because then it's Rice and Worthy and Hollywood and Juju and Jalen Royals as your top 5.
And the crazy thing is that, I mean, between 22 and 23, going into it, the only thing you changed was basically adding Rashee Rice.
Yeah, right.
Because you were the number 1 offense.
Exchanging Juju for Rashee Rice is what you did.
Yeah, you were the number 1 offense in the NFL in 2022 without Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
You lose Tyreek Hill, and you've got
MVP Patrick Mahomes.
And Mahomes elevates everybody around him. Well, and I still believe that Patrick Mahomes is the guy who can absolutely elevate the players who are around him. I don't think that Rashee Rice has a 900-yard season in a lot of other places. He did that because he had Mahomes. Now, he also did it because he was forced to play. Last year, the numbers that Xavier Worthy put up were really good numbers and a great performance in the Super Bowl. Probably would have happened with a lot of other quarterbacks, but, Mahomes, he had the injuries forced him to play, and Mahomes got him better. You can't make guys better when MVS that year, you could see it, lost a step.
Yep.
If you're having that many drops and you're having just those balls that just glance off your hands because you can't get there and all those things, you could tell it's just a half step. But once you lose that half step, it's over. And you couldn't bank on the fact that Sky Moore was going to be the exact same player in 23 that he was in 22. You thought he was going to be better. Hey, you bank on guys like Richie James working out. Well, the reason why he was available because it wasn't Richie James anymore.
Yeah.
Kadarius Toney didn't work out because he's Kadarius Toney.
Right. He was just simply Kadarius Toney.
There was all these things that you're kind of banking on about guys being able to get better, and you can't. You can elevate guys, but if guys aren't at a position where elevating them makes them significantly better. I mean, I believe all these guys for the most. I mean, I would still take these guys' careers with Patrick Mahomes over their careers with anybody else. Which for some of these guys is scary because it does make you wonder what their careers would be like without Patrick Mahomes. But we're gonna just set that aside for now. But I mean, this in theory should be the best room that Patrick Mahomes has had in a long time.
And that's one of the
maybe ever.
It's one of the questions I was going to ask you is if this would be assuming health, which is tough to do.
Assumes health
with Hollywood,
and it might be early. I mean, maybe next year is the year because Bryce is coming back from the injury. You don't know if he's going to be 100% this year. I mean, and receiver is one of those positions that I don't think it's as hard to come back from knee injuries as maybe it is line where you really rely on your legs for your strength, for your power, for your base, all of that.
Yeah.
There may be some corner. I mean, receiver traditionally, and Travis Kelce is a great example. I mean, his first year back from the microfracture knee surgery looked exactly like. I mean, those first 2 years back were exactly the same. I mean, it wasn't like he all of a sudden got significantly better in year 3. He was the exact same tight end pretty much in his second year in the NFL and his third year in the NFL. So his second year back from surgery, he was pretty much the exact same guy. And then it was, year 4 when all of a sudden he becomes,
a stud.
Exactly. Yeah. Becomes Thor. And Jalen Royals, I get the excitement. And I see it, and like I said, I had a really good mini camp, so I think there's a lot to be excited about in basis. But then I go back and I look, and I'm like, Chris Conley was a 3rd-round draft pick.
Mm-hmm.
Demarcus Robinson was a 4th-round draft pick.
Yeah.
Demarcus Robinson didn't take a snap year 1. So am I saying Jalen Royals is Demarcus Robinson? No. I mean, is he Chris Conley? He could be. I don't know. I mean, he's going to play. I mean, barring an injury, he's going to get some work. He's going to take some snaps. But as a 4th-round pick, can you expect Xavier Worthy type numbers from him? No. I mean, that's an unreasonable expectation. I was asked this on my live stream the other night. Has Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy proven that the myth that you don't have to rookie receivers can't produce for Andy Reid?
Right.
Like, no. I think it's underscored it even more. Because if you're going to be a rookie receiver who produces under Andy Reid, then you've got to have 1st-round type talent. I mean, Rashee Rice had 1st-round talent, and he probably would have been taken in the 1st round had NFL teams not known about the things that we all later learned about.
Yeah. Right, that's a good point. Yeah.
He was in the 2nd round for a reason, folks. Yeah. NFL teams know more than we do sometimes. Mm-hmm. Xavier Worthy was a 1st-round talent. Who are the other rookies who have had great years for Andy Reid? Well, once again, Tyreek Hill, 1st-round talent, went in the 5th round for a reason.
As a returner, though. Sorry.
There you go.
As a rookie, though, a receiver from what he was thought to be and what he ended up being, his first year was pretty damn good.
Deshaun Jackson, not a 1st-round pick, but also wasn't a 4th-round pick.
Yeah, Jeremy Maclin, 1st-round
pick. I don't think Reggie Brown was like an outlier. I think he may have been like I want to say 5th-round pick. I could be wrong. But he only had, really the one nice year and maybe a second nice year and then kind of dropped off. I think there was an injury that happened there. But again, I mean, it's the guys who have great first years as a rookie under Andy Reid are that because they're really good receivers. I mean, Pro Bowl type receivers. If Jalen Royals is a Pro Bowl type receiver, 400, 500 yards, completely possible. I mean, if he's just a guy, and honestly, I mean, he could put up 200 yards receiving this year and still end up being a good receiver. It's just I feel like that there's really high expectations on Jalen Royals, and I just feel like as a 4th-round pick, and especially the fact that, hey, if all goes well, he's going to be the 4th or 5th receiver. I mean, it's almost to a point where I think you kind of, if you tell me that Jalen Royals has 600 yards receiving this year, if you were to tell me that right now, I would say, okay, so what happened to Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy and possibly somebody else, because this means that Jalen Royals played a lot. He started some games. And if he's starting a lot of games, that means that a couple of guys didn't start games.
So as we go to break, just looking at the 2019 team that won the Super Bowl and the top 5 receivers for that team, just looking at from then to now, if we're looking at like, okay, what's the best maybe receiving core that Patrick Mahomes has ever had? And if Jalen Royals is your 5th receiver with Rice and Worthy and Hollywood and Juju and then Jalen Royals. So you had Tyreek Hill, Sammy Watkins, McCole Hardman, Demarcus Robinson, Byron Pringle were your top 5 there with that team. Or Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, Hollywood Brown, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Jalen Royals. Tyreek and Rashee Rice, Sammy Watkins, Xavier Worthy, McCole Hardman, Hollywood, Demarcus Robinson, Juju, Byron Pringle. We don't know what Jalen Royals is going to be, but we know what Byron Pringle was. This certainly has the potential right now with health of being the best wide receiver core that he's ever had. And there's a lot of talent in those top 5 because Tyreek was a 5th rounder, but we know he is not a 5th round wide receiver. Yeah. Sammy was a 1st rounder, McCole Hardman a 2nd rounder, Demarcus Robinson a 4th rounder, and then Pringle undrafted. Rashee Rice a 2nd rounder, Xavier Worthy, Hollywood Brown, both 1st rounders, Juju Smith-Schuster a 2nd rounder, and then Jalen Royals a 4th rounder. Like 4 of the 5 guys that are their top 5 here were 1st or 2nd round picks in the NFL in their career. So there's certainly pedigree and talent here, if healthy, that this could be a receiving core where you go, good God, like Juju's the 5th option now? Like Jalen Royals has slid up? Like, hold on, Jalen Royals, the guy they just threw the ball to and picked up, 15 yards and broke 2 tackles, is their 5th guy to throw to? Like, it has the potential to be that, but right now it's on paper, the potential to be that. We know what happened in 2019 where they won a Super Bowl and, those guys, did what they did and how talented that particular, wide receiving core was. So we'll see what ends up happening. I think they're definitely better at wide receiver from 2023, but there are some other areas where they have gotten worse. I think offensive line, they're worse than 2023 because that was Donovan Smith, Joe Tooney, Creed Humphrey, Trey Smith, Jawan Taylor. Now it's Moore/Simmons, Kingsley, and then the other 3. So you have taken a step back in offensive line from that 2023 Super Bowl game there. And I think you've taken a step back in cornerback because you've replaced L'Jarius Sneed with Christian Fulton and Noel Williams. You're lesser than because of that. But there are other areas where you're better.
I mean, I would say
it's a 2-for-1, but like L'Jarius Sneed was such a high-level player, that you move on from. And
I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, McDuffie was in the slot then too, so I mean that. But that's the thing. I mean, if you're thinking about it as 3 players across the board, depending on how the Chiefs deploy them, if you view it as 3 starting quarters, their 3 starters this year might be better than they were in 23.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. Running back, I think, is better than 23 because it was Pacheco, McKinnon, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, where this could be, Pacheco, Kareem Hunt, and Brashard Smith. I think that's better. Tight end is better because your 3rd tight end was Blake Bell. Now it's either Wiley or Brenningstool. So I think that's better. How much better it is than defensive end? I think is better because it's essentially the exact same group. Karlaftis, Dana, Amenahue, Herring, and FAU in 2023. Karlaftis, Dana, Amenahue, FAU, Herring, Gelati.
And Gelati,
it might be Gelati for Herring. So you're better than what that was, in 2023.
I always say you can't tell much during rookie minicamp for offensive and defensive linemen because they're not wearing pads, not hitting. But Ashton Gelati has got a motor, and he is quick.
Yeah. And linebacker, you've exchanged Gay for Bassa. So Bolton, Tranquil, and Chanel there in 23.
Bassa's going to be really good too.
Bassa for Gay. We'll see what Bassa ends up doing. But there are some areas where I think they've taken a step back. But then there are other areas where I'm like, they've gotten better from when they won a Super Bowl 2 years later in a salary-capped league when you're paying Mahomes and Chris Jones and Creed Humphrey and about to pay Trey Smith, and you've done all of this, and yet you've somehow 2 years from winning a Super Bowl can make a case that you're a better 1 through 53 than you were then. And I think they can make a strong case that right now, as it stands, they would be better 1 through 53 than what they were when they won that Super Bowl.
And one quick thing that stands out to me about the receiver group versus 23 is the youth. Because, Juju is the only older guy. So if you told me that Juju is the only guy that's maybe going to lose a half step at this point, and maybe, hey, maybe he's the guy that's not as productive as you're expecting because of that. Well, he's your 4th or 5th receiver. Yeah. That's not a huge loss.
They went into games last year where he was their number 1.
And
he and Xavier.
Yeah,
and it was Worthy and Juju were the guys that Mahomes was throwing the ball to last year.
I mean, like you're talking about 2019, Byron Pringle. I mean, you know, if you're fifth or sixth receiver and Remigio might still be around for returns, you never know. Maybe he could be the DeMarcus Robinson of the group. You know, doesn't get any targets in year one, but year two, you know, it starts to pick it up a little bit. Even if it's another different receiver. I mean, as long as you're getting production from your top 3 or 4.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it doesn't really matter who your fifth receiver is.
Yeah. Matt Derrick, it always matters when you're in with us. Matt Derrick, Chiefs Digest, 41 is the Mike podcast. Appreciate the time as always, brother. Enjoy the weekend, and we will talk next week.
Enjoy your night of freedom.
It's going to be nice. Nothing to do tonight. First time in, I believe, 8 days for the family that we've got nothing scheduled tonight. Awesome. Looking forward to doing nothing. I did nothing, and it was everything I thought it could possibly be. We'll take a time out. We'll come back. We'll continue with more Zone next. All right, we'll continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you. Mick Schaefer hanging out with us. Thank you to Matt Derrick. Chiefs Digest 41 is the Mike podcast. Dylan Michaels also just hanging out until 2 with us for some reason. I don't know. I mean, come on, get yourself a day off. Where's Sterling? Oh, he's got a day off again. Hi, Mick.
So Sterling has the unlimited PTO package here at 810. Is that right?
Yeah, he was upsold. He bought the premier package. So it came with the sunroof.
Yes.
Came with the sunroof and rims and also unlimited time off.
He is fully loaded. That's what he is.
That's right.
The Eddie Bauer edition.
All weather mats.
Yes, that's right. I was excited that I got power windows. I thought those were standard, but I was told that and then I find out after I signed the contract, they're like, "Hey, man, power windows are standard." I'm like, oh man, I got upsold on that. I just didn't want to. I didn't want to teach my kid what rolling a window meant.
I don't even have like the touchscreen display or anything like that. It's just a CD player that I'll use.
I had a cassette tape.
Yeah.
An 8-track player. You know
that's
what I mean?
what I got.
Stop at the middle of a song, flip it over. Then keep rolling on that song. That's fine. I had an actual record player.
These
in the car.
bro
It'd scratch
trips
all the time.
These bro trips aren't going to bro themselves.
That's true. I think this is a family trip this time, though.
Yeah, he'll bro it out.
He'll find a way to bro it out for some reason.
Bro.
He'll brosif somebody over there.
Well, it's in California, right?
Yes, it's in California.
That's where the bros originated.
Yep. Yeah.
If you take ancient Civ, we learned that's where bros originated.
He's going to go to San Francisco and see Bro, Montana.
The Mesopotamia of bros.
Oh, yeah.
Miss him though, gosh.
Yes, I know, right? Where's he?
Right there. Right there was where we needed him. That's
man,
that silence everyone heard.
Yes, he needed just to give us one more for the cuts for some reason. I'm not sure. We're going to miss him. Apparently, Mick, North Carolina is going to be missing Jordan Hudson.
Well, I've heard conflicting stories, but yeah.
Oh, is there a conflicting story now?
Barstool said banned, and then
because
Pablo
Torre had the report that she has been multiple sources at North Carolina have told him that she is no longer allowed to be around the football facility or be on the football field while that stuff is going on. So there's conflicting reports now?
Well, I think what I saw from the quote-unquote conflicting report was a statement from North Carolina saying she is welcome at the facilities.
Oh, no.
For instance, she's welcome for games and stuff.
Oh, that's
But I bet
true.
it's a deal like, okay, during practice, all right, we're doing real work here. She's not here.
Yeah, so he said, Pablo Torre said, 2 sources at the University of North Carolina tell me there has been a decision that was made last week by the higher-ups inside the athletic department that hired Bill Belichick to be the highest-paid public employee, not just coach in the state of North Carolina, at $10 million a year.
Oh, it's always the highest
I know.
paid
Whoever
employee.
the highest
Is
paid
there any
coach is.
state where it's not a coach
Yes.
that's the highest paid employee?
Every time.
Alaska, maybe. It's like
probably,
a city councilman.
Highest-paid public employee. Well, what about the University of Juneau football team? Is that not going to be? Nope.
He makes thousands of dollars a year.
Yes, hundreds of it. And he says, not just the coach of the year, $10 million a year. And that decision was that Jordan Hudson, she is no longer allowed in the football building. She's not allowed on the football field. Quote from the source said, don't think you'll be hearing much from Jordan moving forward.
God, what a train wreck.
That thing is, we'll see. We'll see. But it is funny. Somebody brought up the theory of, is there any chance that, Jordan continues to insert herself in Bill Belichick's life? Is there any chance that Bill Belichick went to Bubba Cunningham and was like, hey, Bubba, can you say that she's not allowed to
make
be
it from
can
you, okay?
Can you, let her know? Jordan, I don't know. I'm fighting for you.
Yeah.
Okay, this is way above my pay grade. Bubba is saying that this is the case. Apparently it's a rule that's been in place since before I got here. I'd love to have you there. I want you there, but you know Bubba. You know BC. Bubba Cunningham, it's just what he does, man. This is who he is.
Rigs NCAA tournaments and
right?
hands out,
I'm sorry, Jordan. You know I love you and I want to spend every day with you, but hands are tied on this one. Sorry about that. Not like they were last
when
night.
we're on vacation, I'll go to my sister-in-law and say, hey, can you talk to my wife and say, let's make this a boat day? Okay. If it comes from me, it ain't happening. If it comes from you, let's go. Yeah,
that's a good point. That's a good
similar thing.
Yes. So you got to find a way around it. So
I don't like how she spells her name, Jordan.
Yeah. Maybe this is coming from the higher ups, or maybe that's where. But maybe it didn't originate from Bubba Cunningham.
Honestly, that seems like a more plausible theory than we're gonna boss Bill Belichick around.
Do not let her come
6
to the
minutes
football...
into his tenure here.
We heard she was on the football field. No, she is not allowed on the football field. Significant others cannot be anywhere near football field of North Carolina. Not happening here, no way.
Yeah. Usually when you pay the guy that much money, he's the guy that makes all the rules, right? It's not like, hey, we're paying you, so you got to do this. Usually it's like, okay, no, we bow to him.
We're paying you $10 million. We aren't paying you $10 million for your girlfriend to be walking around the football field distracting our football players. You know what I mean?
This thing can't last long, right? How long has that gone so far? A year or two? A year?
Too long. Too long. The other report that came out, which I think is sort of cringe, is Bill Belichick making a commercial, a TV commercial for Underdog Fantasy or whatever. And his scene, he is sitting next to a pool and he's on the phone and he's calling somebody and he's like, no, it's something about quarterback is this or that. And the guy's like, all right, thanks, Bill. So this is from many people who were on the set of the TV commercial that are now corroborating the story that individually weren't going to say anything, but once it got out, everybody's like, yep, this is what happened. This is what happened. She showed up and demanded to be in the scene with Bill Belichick, and she was told no. And then when they started filming, she walked out with a yellow polka dot bikini and a sun hat because she was just going to sit next to the pool lounging while he was on the phone. In his
Is she
spot.
in the commercial?
She is not. But the story that was told by sources were that to appease her and Bill, they did another shoot, another take with her in it. And one person even said the camera wasn't even rolling. Not only was it not, there isn't even film of this scene with her in it of Bill Belichick doing that.
What a nightmare.
Almost, I feel like they dropped the ball there because we could have some outtakes that might be all time.
It might be out there. It was just one person that said it wasn't rolling.
Nightmare. She's a 24-year-old trying to boss around CBS News, commercial producers for Underdog,
like it's
the University of North Carolina.
Right. Like all of these.
What do you know?
All
who do
of
you
these,
think you know? Who does,
It's like,
who do
hey,
you think
I don't
you
know
are?
if you understand gambling, Jordan, but we don't really need Bill Belichick to sell this product. We'd like him.
Right, you got all of these athletes in there, like these famous athletes or actors, and Bill Belichick in that, and it's like, no, I want to be a part of it. No, I think we're fine. Like
You're only known because of him.
Yeah, but also the story was, and this is it. What her plan was that commercial would be the quote, as she said on the set, as why she wanted to be as part of the scene. That commercial was, quote, the hard launch of our relationship. Bill Belichick and Jordan Hudson's the hard launch.
I don't know what that even means.
I guess
it's a
like
term for
letting everybody we're here.
Yeah, exactly.
We are together. Not like, oh, we got a picture of him there, picture of him. No, it's we have established our.
Yep.
And I'm like, I heard that. I'm like, can you imagine?
A hard launch would be if no one had heard about Kelsey and Taylor Swift, and then she was just at the Bears game.
Yeah, right.
All of a sudden.
But it's like, imagine if that terminology came out with Kelsey and Taylor Swift, because there's already conspiracy theories about their relationship anyway, and then to say, oh my God, they planned a hard launch for their relationship. Yeah, this is fake. This is all fake. And like, maybe it's not fake to Bill, but I think there might be some fakeness from Jordan on we're hard launching this and I need to be in this and I'm going to be at the North Carolina facilities, and I don't know, man.
There's so many levels to relationships now, right?
It's odd, man.
No, Dad, we're not. We're just talking, okay? Oh, okay. What is that? what does that mean? There's a Netflix show out. It's called 4 Seasons, where like he's dating this much younger Steve Carell dating this much younger girl, and she's like, we're fluid right now, and you're hard launch and talking, and eventually he's like, are we boyfriend girlfriend? I don't. Those are the labels I understand. I don't understand everything else. Are we together?
Righteous Gemstones said, "Do you want to go steady with me?"
Yes,
of course I want to go steady with you. John, you want to go steady?
You know the best part about all this?
Who asked that? Was that BJ or?
No, it was.
It was John Candy and Eli
not John Candy, but John
Megan Malone.
Eli Gemstone. You want to go steady? Well, of course I want to go steady. I thought we were going steady the whole time. I want to go steady.
You know what fixes all this, by the way? Like, all of it is if he just starts winning football games in the fall. Like, if they go 10 or 11, and 10 and whatever it is.
But here's what's
10 and 3, 11 and 2, or whatever.
Here's what would
None of this will matter.
But here's what. Sorry, Dylan. Here's what would worry me about if I'm North Carolina and hiring Bill Belichick and all of this stuff going on. One of the things that Bill Belichick was most famous for in the Patriots way was eliminating any and all distractions. There are no distractions around this football program.
Yes, precisely.
Nothing. That's a distraction, get rid of it. That's a distraction, get rid of it. Tom's trainer around here, get the hell out. No distractions. Oh, my girlfriend's hanging out at the football facility. Oh, she's on the football field, walking around. And
that's why I think I like your theory of hey, can this come from you? Just get her out of
hey,
here.
Bubba, I can't say no to her, okay? I can't say no. You can allow me to say no through you. Will you do me that solid, please? I appreciate that. That whole thing. And then finding out about the TV commercial that came out last night. Not the TV commercial that came out, but that came out about now people are going, like one person wasn't willing to say it, but then once it started getting corroborated, then there was like 15 people on set were like, yes, that is exactly what happened. She showed up. She tried to be and yes, we filmed a take with her that nobody ever saw.
We did not film.
And one person even said the camera wasn't rolling when we did that take. And that's just like, oh, my God. Mick Schaefer's hanging out with us here on this Friday edition of the show. Royals get a 3-game set with the Red Sox this weekend. Kansas Speedway in action this weekend. Mother's Day this weekend, right? Taking your mothers to go get hey, you know what? Got this hot wife who's a mom. I'm going to get her a hot pass. I have no idea. Does anybody say that?
You don't say you're not my mom? It's on the kids.
I got a hot mom, and we do talk in the third person around the kids a lot as mommy and daddy. Well, daddy's doing this, and I say, mommy, or what do you want for dinner? Mommy, hey, will you let mommy dinner's ready? Is it good, mom? It's. You change your lingo and the way you address each other when you've got kindergartners.
You're such a good daddy,
and
Jason.
third graders.
You're a daddy.
And mommy was putting on weight, and daddy got scared, And it's from Liar, Liar, everybody, okay? He was telling the story to his child about the best day of his life and when they were pregnant with him, or she was at least. We'll take a time out. We'll come back hanging out with Mick Schaefer. More Zone next. basically described the scene from The Office when Robert California tells Andy not to hire his wife.
Yes.
Oh, man. I said, liar, liars in Texas. The pen is blue.
The pen is blue.
The pen is blue. This pen I hold in my hand is royal blue.
My wife broke out the claw line today. We were driving around with my daughter.
Wow, nice. You're scared of the claw.
It's the claw.
The claw's gonna get you. You know what? Don't do that. Don't do
It's
that.
funny.
Scared of the claw.
Maura Tierney, who is the wife in that, right? She is also the wife in The Iron Claw. So a couple Claw movies. Got to get Maura Tierney.
Yeah. Mick Schaefer is hanging out with us here on this Friday edition of the show. We're going to play a couple of clips from Josh Jacobs. We played one earlier with Matt Derrick about the Raiders going on the logo of the Chiefs before they lost 48-9. And him saying, "You guys are dumb because we're their stepbrothers. We're the little brother. We haven't beaten them enough, and we're not winning enough to go and think we can just run out on the logo like that." I thought that was really interesting. But he spent a lot of time in the interview talking about being recruited, what the recruitment process was like, teams that he was interested in or almost went to, and some local teams mentioned. Maybe local specifically, like with me, and then also Mick. Thought that was interesting. And then sort of getting to know what makes a player tick in the recruiting process. I thought that was pretty interesting. So we'll hear that from Josh Jacobs. And then we haven't weighed in yet on Rafael Devers telling the Red Sox, "I will not play first base." You had me move to DH from third base. And Casas is out for the year now with a torn ruptured patella tendon in his knee. Need a first baseman. You're asking me to play first base, and I'm saying no. Find somebody else. I'm a DH. We'll talk about that. If you didn't know it, now you do.
My buddy, shout out to Brian.
Shout out, Brian.
Who somehow pulled this off. He went to Nashville and saw Pearl Jam Tuesday night and last night, Thursday. And tonight is his daughter's grad party. He is arriving and will just put on a polo shirt. And yeah, I hope so. I'll be there. I'll text him what's going on. If not, I'm like, how do you get ready? I've been running errands for 2 weeks for my kid's grad party, and he just rolls in there after 3 nights in Nashville, watching Pearl Jam twice, who he's seen 50 times.
Better make it back in time.
But even then, I mean, who is this? Who is this saint you're married to? I know her. She's great. I was like, can I be a husband of yours too?
Running all of the errands all week?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and potentially like missing your daughter's graduation if there's travel issues. I mean,
and it's just the grad party, but still, that's a bigger
point.
deal than
Yeah,
graduation.
it's right. Yeah, you can. It's not.
But there's a million things to take care of, and he doesn't have to worry about any of those.
All he gets to do is just enjoy Pearl Jam. Good for him, man.
Yeah, that was obviously. I know that's not Pearl Jam. Have you seen the? It's like a meme out there, like. One of the albums, Pearl Jam, Nirvana's, and then that one, Guns N' Roses, all came out within like 44 days of each other in like 1992 or something like that. There's like 6 of them.
Yeah. What a great month and a half of listening.
That 44 days
possibly
has shaped
consume
my musical taste for the next 3 decades.
The arguments, like this album's so much better. No, it's not. This is better. Like. How often do you get an argument like that? Yeah. Mick Shaver's hanging out with us. Josh Jacobs is now a Green Bay Packer. He's out of the AFC West. He's out of the SEC as well when he was at Alabama. Let's play clip number 1 here. This is part of the recruiting for Josh Jacobs out of Oklahoma, a small school in Oklahoma. Clip number 1 here, if we can. Excuse me. Sorry, clip number 2. My apologies. Clip number 2, brother. Yep, clip number 2 here from Josh Jacobs, and he's talking about the recruitment, where he went, obviously was Alabama, but how close he was to going to a local school and on the final day, on signing day, when he decided to go to Alabama. Here's Josh Jacobs talking about his recruitment.
My first offer was like New Mexico State.
Hell yeah.
And I'm like, okay.
Lobos.
I'm like, I'm cool with that because
Wrong.
You got to think, like for me, the NFL was never a dream for me because it was never a reality. I've never seen nobody, do it or even go far for real. So like for me, I was like, if I get to school, that's all I'm trying to do. Like I'm trying to get to school. I went to school. I majored in business management, pre-law. I'm gonna go get a real degree, like try to go to work. You know what I'm saying? That's what I was trying to set myself up, make some connections, go to work. And so when it became like more and more serious, I'm like, I started thinking more about that, but I didn't understand it. Like Bama ended up coming. So I'm gonna be honest with you, like we're really done with our recruiting. He said, but one guy that like we trying to recruit, we're still waiting to see if he can even make it because his grades, like academics, he was struggling to get in. So like literally like the day that I went to sign, that's when I found out that I could even go to Alabama. Cause they called me right before and was like, yeah, he didn't make it.
What was your game plan if Alabama doesn't call?
I was gonna go to Mizzou.
Drew
Lock showed me. And see, that's a crazy
thing. They got the Tigers, right?
Alabama just calls on signing day.
Drew Lock.
Because I had a visit. Drew Lock showed me around, and I'm like, I don't know. This is different. It was, different than anything I've ever seen. I'm like, they got landscaping out here. I've never seen landscaping. This shit is crazy.
Shout out Columbia, Missouri.
Landscaping.
I'm like, man, this is wild.
Good business school. Great business school, yeah.
And then Bama was like, so I took a partial. So that was my only 2 visits was Mizzou and Bama, but I took a partial. But I went to Bama and I was like, first thing I seen was a group of girls. I was like, yeah. I think this is gonna be for me. And then Jalen Hurts was actually the one that showed me around because he was an early enrollee.
So that last part is like, yeah, if Alabama calls, I'm gonna go to Alabama. I had to look it up. Kendall Jones was the recruit for Alabama that did not qualify.
Okay. Where did he end up?
He ended up at junior college, and then he played at Southern Miss.
Okay.
I think he played volleyball, so Brett Favre took care of him. No, he played football there. and did not qualify. Had he qualified with grades, Josh Jacobs was signing with Mizzou to play football there. Because
first of all,
sold him.
Was that Will Compton or Lawan? Who was that when it said New Mexico State Lobos?
I don't know who it was, but yeah, that's
Wrong.
not.
They're the Aggies.
They're the Aggies. New Mexico.
The Lobos.
Yes.
Surprised you go Mizzou. Oh, Mizzou, the Bears.
But I wanted to play that clip first. One, because of the Mizzou part of it is like, he was a 3-star recruit. So at the time, it wasn't like, wow, they lost out on this guy. But it's like, well, they lost out on this guy to go to Alabama. And they grabbed this 3-star kid out of Oklahoma that, hold on, you were choosing between Alabama and Mizzou, and you're from Oklahoma and also New Mexico State. But I wanted to play that clip first because his mindset going into the recruiting process was, it's not about going to the NFL for me because
paid for.
I just want to get my education. I'm going to do business, pre-law, something to where I can make the connections and I can start my career. I'm using football to get an education. Going to the NFL, that's not part of the plan because I'm making it to the NFL. No, I just want to get college paid for. So knowing that being the mindset of the player can shape how you would recruit somebody if you even knew that about him. So I want to play this one. This is a longer clip. It's about 3 minutes long. And this is Josh Jacobs talking about sort of the perspective of a recruit, why he ended up choosing Alabama over Mizzou. So he chose Alabama over Mizzou because they had a spot available. If they didn't, he was going to Mizzou. But all things being equal, I'm signing with Alabama. He joked about the girls there as to why he wanted to go there. But he weighs in on what the real deciding factor was, but then also sort of being a little ticked off at schools that were closer to him and writing them off his list pretty quickly. So I thought this was an interesting perspective, knowing now what we heard there of him saying, I just wanted to get an education and use football for that and not I'm going to go to the NFL. So here's Josh Jacobs during the recruiting process and why ultimately Alabama was the choice over Mizzou.
I'm going to tell you the main reason why I signed with Alabama. When I went to Mizzou and they found out that I was only going to stay for partial of the time to take half of the time to go, because it was the last recruiting weekend because I was so late, to be able to go there, they made a whole PowerPoint of how Bama is this and how I wasn't going to play there. Like how my chances of playing there was very slim. And then when I went to Bama and I talked to Saban, we never even talked about football. He just talked to me. He was like, this is how I can help you become a better man. This is how I can grow your relationships and, grow you as a man. And that's what, I was like, okay, that sold me. That was enough for me because, like I said, at that time, I'm not really too much thinking about football because I'm like, that's not really a real reality for me. So I'm like, I want to be good. I want to play, but, I want to go to school. I want to, you feel me, figure it out. So when he did that, I was like, yeah, he gonna be the person that really teach me and help me grow up and develop me and things like that. And that's why I ended up choosing him.
So Bama was telling you how your chances were minimal, or that was Mizzou?
No,
Missouri was all about football.
Missouri.
It wasn't about football until they found out that I was going to take half of the other, visit to Bama.
Got you.
So then they when they started talking about one thing, I say once I got that Alabama recognition, every school that came and talked to me always brought them up. So I was like, y'all just making me want to play there even more. Y'all keep speaking on them. They must be the top dog. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm like, all right. So that's kind of how it played out.
Oklahoma ever in the mix for you?
No.
Elaborate.
No, you don't like Oklahoma, or no?
No,
See the way he answered
you
that.
got a chip on your shoulder that they didn't.
Nah, because it's bro, I used to have Mike Stoops and them come to my games when I was in Little League. When I was 5th, 6th grade, I used to see them in the stands. You feel me? So I'm like, it's not like y'all didn't know who I was. I've been that in football. Mm-hmm. You feel me? So I'm like, when they got to college, I'm like, I got a Tulsa University is 15 minutes from my house. Didn't even get an offer from them. You feel me? So when you came after these schools, I felt disrespected. Y'all closer to me. Oklahoma is an hour and some change away. Oklahoma State is 45 minutes away. You feel me? So I'm like, I don't got offers from y'all. I'm like, nah, I'm not staying.
Felt some type of way.
Yeah, I felt some type of way.
Yeah.
For sure. That's why when we played them, I was on their ass.
Almost on their ass.
But funny story about that is when I went to the draft, Bob Stooks was the first one to come up to me when we was in the meeting room, and he was just like, man, I love your game. He was with Lincoln Riley. He was like, I love your game. He was like, man, he was like, you changed my whole perspective on looking that way. Bro, I'm telling you, after I got recruited, bro, I had coaches telling me, you know, we're committed to never missing a diamond in the rough again. After I got after I committed and went to university, the next 2 to 3 classes, bro, we had the more people going leaving out of Oklahoma than we ever had like the last decade. You feel me? So like, it played out. It worked out how it was supposed to.
So that sort of perspective of he's at Mizzou. They find out he's cutting his visit in half because it's the final weekend. As he said, he was so late in the process. He wasn't really recruited. Like Alabama came along in like December. The signing is February of 2016. Mm-hmm. They're like December of 15, and he's getting these late scholarship offers, which is why he had the chip on his shoulder of Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. Is like, hold on. Now all these other people are recruiting me. Now you give me an offer? Mm-hmm. Like Tulsa, I'm right down the street. You didn't even offer me a scholarship. Like I might have committed there. You know, I was going to go to New Mexico State before these other schools got involved. Imagine if Oklahoma State or Oklahoma would have offered me.
That's what I'm imagining right now.
Right, yes.
Thank you.
And imagine if Mizzou would have, I don't know, made sure that kid qualified.
Did he say he got a partial scholarship to Alabama, like he would have got full in Missouri?
No.
What
so he said he took his partial visit.
Okay.
So he cut the last weekend to visit in half. He went half the weekend to Mizzou and then went half the weekend to Alabama.
Okay.
And when Mizzou found out he was going to Alabama, he said they came up with the PowerPoint about how I'm not going to play at Alabama. Like Alabama's this, Alabama's that, you're not going to play there. Which is an odd way to recruit somebody to say, like, you aren't good enough to play for that good team. Play for our crappy team.
Yeah.
No, you're going to play here for us. We're not any good. You should play here with us. But also, like, you're telling him, like, if you want somebody to be a player in the SEC that's going to rise to a high level of football, do you want the guy that goes, yeah, you're right, I shouldn't compete there at Alabama. I should just come here where you guys are telling me that I'll probably play. So, yeah, I'm not really going to compete for a spot here either. But also, how did they find out? How did Nick Saban find out that his view on recruiting was about life after college? Or is that how Nick Saban just approaches it with everybody?
With everybody.
With everybody. And that, by the way, that was Barry Odom's. Barry Odom was just hired in December of 15. So it's not like he had a year or something to get to know the kid. And clearly was closing pretty quickly on it. Would have had him if it wasn't for this Kendall Jones that didn't qualify with Bama's recruiting class. But just the different way of recruiting that Mizzou was like recruiting negatively against Alabama, but not even like, hey, don't go there because they don't develop kids. Don't go there because you won't play, like almost negative recruiting against the kid to a degree.
Yeah, I see it that way, but I imagine that's the case, and they're probably right most of the time. I would say Josh Jacobs is a huge exception in this whole deal. It's like, my science teacher told me I'd never play in the major leagues. Well, your science teacher was right 999 times out of 1,000 there, right? Let's give him his props there. He was right to all the other nerds out there and the 5'9" dudes that were accountants and all that stuff. When he told them, he was right.
The other 999 kids he told.
He was right.
And it wasn't even close.
It wasn't even close.
He was right by a mile. He missed on you, but good for you, though.
Yeah.
Make sure you keep that chip on that shoulder.
But I get it, and it makes sense, and it probably does resonate with a lot of kids of like, oh, yeah, and you know what? They do have, I'm sure they had 3 guys in the running back room that made the NFL at that time.
Damian Harris and I think
for Alabama.
Yeah, I think there was a couple of others that were
so
there.
They're right. It's like, okay, you're kind of really betting on yourself here to where like, look, we got one guy that's definitely in front of you. He's graduating in a year, and after one redshirt, we see you as a 3 to 4 year starter type deal.
Because he was a lower running back recruit in his own class at Alabama. They had another recruit in that 16. I don't even know who it was.
He really rolled the dice because I've heard stories of, outstanding local athletes here in Kansas City that'll go down to Florida to a college or to Texas or whatever, and they'll be like, listen, we're off you a scholarship, but brass tacks here, we've got 10 more of you here, right? That you're this, but we have a lot more. Now, if you go to Iowa, you go to Mizzou, go to K-State, you're kind of one of one there. So you could get lost in the shuffle with all these other standouts. And look, maybe that works out and it makes you even better. Or you could come in and maybe star right away at some of these other schools farther north.
And it might have worked, like if Mizzou recruited it that way, it might have worked with another running back.
I think it does work with a lot of kids to where like
that would have been like, okay, I get to play.
Where like, yeah.
And instead he was like, yeah, so if I don't play, I don't play. But I'm going to go there because I'm thinking about how I
think
grow.
his mindset is why. Like he was like, although it is kind of contradictory in that, like, okay, the glitz and glam of Alabama did sway it, which nice. I get. I mean, that's what you would.
Those are pretty ladies.
Okay,
Tulsa. But there was landscaping at Missouri. Okay, Missouri had landscaping.
Tulsa doesn't want me, but Alabama does. Okay, and Alabama must have come in way late. Otherwise, usually
way
there's
way
a
late.
Waterfall
they
after
weren't recruiting him.
Right?
They were recruiting somebody else.
If he gets that offer from Alabama in November, he's got half the SEC by Christmas offering him.
And it's a little bit of a Cody Schrader story, because remember Eli went to dinner with a big-time booster that said, hey, take a look at this Cody Schrader guy for me. Can you do me a favor? Take a look at this kid. I think he can compete at this level. And Eli's like, all right, I'll do it. And then Cody Schrader turns out to be Cody freaking Schrader at Mizzou. There was a recruiter for Alabama that was recruiting somebody else. And then one of the people around there that he trusted said, you got to look at this Josh Jacobs kid over there. And so they didn't even go and talk to him at football. He was already in basketball season. They went to a basketball practice to watch Josh Jacobs. And he was like, I was just dunking, just doing everything I could. Just every time I'd like dunk on somebody, I'd look over at him. They didn't even go to a football game to recruit. That's how late in the process they were. And they weren't in that area to recruit him. They were in the area to recruit somebody else. But then Alabama offered. It's like, oh, hey, wait. And what he brought up, stuck with me a little bit too when he was saying that Bob Stoops was like, you've changed the way that I've looked at things around Oklahoma in that we're not going to let somebody get out of our area again. Because maybe sometimes in your own backyard you overlook people.
You do. That happens a lot.
DeJuan Harris was in Columbia and didn't get a scholarship offer. Like, how? Like, you were too good for him? Like, at that time, Konzo? Like, he goes to Missouri State and then KU up? Ochai. Sorry, Missouri is not offering you anything. But KU is, so good on Bill Self and KU. But it was also he's going to redshirt and everything. Like, we've got these stories of, like, in our own backyard of guys. Like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of. I know I had a conversation with Robbie Bell. I can't remember if he was going to Michigan, but that might have been like you're going to Michigan. I don't remember if it was just not a good experience or the recruiting process or something like that. But Jalen Knoll, like so many different players around here that are like under recruited locally, and they go somewhere else, and it's like, wow, how'd that guy get out of your backyard? Well, because they were recruiting the guy from California.
I've always felt like the. Headlines and film from far away spots tend to resonate with coaches more than just the film and highlights right there in their backyard because it's more commonplace and you know it better and there's something about the kind of more of a mystery of a guy that's from a couple states away to where like what you don't know. You create and maybe raise that ceiling even higher. I've thought that forever because there's been a lot of guys. Kansas State's always been great of going and finding those diamonds in the rough because they have to because they're in Manhattan. Yeah. And they've been great with it. And it's gone from Bill Snyder to Chris Kleiman. And not only the little guys, they'll go get the kids from small town Kansas, but they'll come and recruit kids from Kansas City. KU has kind of lacked in that, I think, over the years. I think Lance Leipold's getting better at that and recruiting this area. But, they've always been attracted to those 3-star guy from Texas over the guy from right here in Kansas City. And
it feels like Eli and Mizzou paid more attention to the east side of the state. Well, and then look, there's a lot of stud players that come out of St. Louis, but there's a lot of players out of Kansas City that were getting overlooked. They paid a little bit more attention with the sort of Lee Summit North connection that's going there, but other kids around the area that maybe pay a little bit more attention to the west side.
There's so many more
of the
kids
state.
Recruiting Kansas City nowadays than 20 years ago, 25 years ago when I got here.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you could. I think there were a lot of years where it was. You would have single digits kids go D1 out of like a metropolitan area with 120 high schools. You'd have 8 kids go D1. Now it's dozens and does every year. And there's guys like, I've almost forgot about Mason Richmond from Blue Valley. My kid played against him. I texted our family thread like, "Hey, the first NFL player. One of you boys has played against at Blue Valley, and here he's a draft pick now and going to the NFL."
Yeah, it's awesome. But I thought that was really cool hearing the perspective of somebody that was like, okay, how much time do you have to get to know the recruit, and what makes that recruit tick to land him, which for him specifically had almost nothing to do with football except, well, I mean, I can go to Alabama and play, and you're telling me not to go there because I'm not going to play, but I'm going there because this coach was like, I'm going to make you a better man. Like, we don't even need to talk about what you're going to do on a football field. I'm going to make you a better man. And again, maybe that's Nick Saban's approach with everybody. Or maybe Nick Saban is such a great recruiter, he has a sense of what that person wants. Maybe that's what, like Eli, comes across, like Drinkwitz comes across like kind of a big dork, but yet one hell of a recruiter. Mm-hmm. So it's like, does he have an instinct as to what kids are looking for certain things? And now NIL helps, but what kids are looking for certain things as to what will make them tick to get them on campus, where Josh Jacobs to get him on campus would have been Barry Odom and the staff just meeting with him about what you're going to be as a person here, and how we develop you that way, and all the different academic things we can offer you. And yeah, you're going to play football, but we're more worried about what you're going to be in life. Yeah. Where that seemed to be maybe what Nick, but it might only work with 1 out of every 10 players that are being recruited.
I feel like when you recruit the smaller schools, you lean more heavily to the combine numbers and the running and the jumping, because I mean, this Lincoln Cure kid, who was the number 1 or 2 kid out of Kansas going to Kansas State as a tight end out of Goodland, played 3A football. Yeah. I mean, it looked like he was playing against 8th graders. Yeah. Some of the time you can't really tell how good, but combine numbers just off the charts, as opposed to a bigger school kid like a Lee Summit North kid or whatever. Like, okay, you're playing the Rockhurst, you're playing the Mill Valleys, you're playing in all the big schools up here. The tape looks really good against a bunch of other D1 and D2 kids. I'll rely more heavily on the tape than I will, say, your 3-cone drill or your broad jump or whatever.
But even the Lincoln Cure, when you get the last second in Oregon's like, yeah, we want you to come here to Oregon, and good on him staying committed, and staying local, which is awesome. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll continue rolling. Royals get ready for the Red Sox tonight. Red Sox have an issue at first base. And the man
maybe nobody will be there. Maybe
I don't know who's going to be playing first base tonight. I can tell you it's not going to be Rafael
Devers.
Devers.
There's a lot of positions on the field. I would have a ghost player there before first base. That might be the last one.
We're going to play with
catcher.
We're going to play with 2 outfielders. Okay, I get it. You're a man down. Yeah. We're going to play with 3 infielders. Okay, you're going to sort of first base. No. Third, short, second, no first base.
We have really fast guys, though. They're going to run it over there. And we're going to pitch to, pitch to hitting it towards the second baseman. I don't know. We're pitching to fly balls. Fly ball pitcher is what we're doing.
The pitcher is going to have to actually cover first every single time. We know Rafael Devers will not be playing first base tonight for the Red Sox. He'll be DHing. We'll take a timeout. We'll find out why, as Casas out for the year last week, rupturing his patella tendon, so it's going to be tough for him to play left tackle in the NFL.
Well, it'll be tough.
Just
take a flyer on him, though.
Dylan said, "Damn it, you beat me to it." He was walking over to the microphone.
I almost said it last segment when we mentioned it, but well done.
All right, we'll take a timeout. We'll come back. Continue rolling. More Zone next. All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you. Mick Schaefer hanging out with us. Dylan Michaels doing his thing. Royals Red Sox tonight at 6:40. It'll be Michael Lorenzen versus Brian Bello. Scott Baio?
Scott's
Brian
brother,
Baio.
yeah.
Bello.
Who's the boss tonight? We'll figure out.
We
Wait,
will.
no.
less
Who's going to be in
talented.
charge?
Yeah, he's in
Charles,
charge. Yes,
yeah.
Charles. Brian. Hopefully it's Michael Lorenzen is in charge.
But they were both kind of weird TV shows about just a guy living with a family.
Which is totally normal, right? I think it is. I don't know about you. So there's some drama going on in Boston as they're in town. I don't know who will be playing first base tonight for the Red Sox. Maybe it's Toro that's played first base a couple of times. It won't be Casas. I know that because he's out for the year. And apparently it will also not be Rafael Devers. And that is because, as Rafael Devers told the reporters yesterday, so to go back to the beginning of the season, the Boston Red Sox go and sign Alex Bregman. And Alex Bregman was one of the bigger free agents that was out there, and he's been great. Third baseman.
Want the Royals to sign him.
That's right. He's been an awesome player. But as part of signing Alex Bregman, they told Rafael Devers, we're going to move you to DH. All right, we're going to take you off third. Bregman's going to be there. We're going to move you to designated hitter. We got Casas at first, and you're going to be our DH. Casas goes down. Bregman's at third. Devers has played the corner. He's played third, so can he play first? He's not playing first. He's still DHing. Now, Buster Olney was on yesterday with Nate, and he said, really, because he was saying that, just paraphrasing here, he said, this whole situation that's going on, it's like, is the team going to approach Rafael Devers? And he said, in a perfect world, you would hope that Devers would approach the team and say, hey, I can go and play first base, and we can, figure some things out. That's not what happened. The team did approach Rafael Devers. Here's what Rafael Devers said about that. He said, quote, they had the conversation with me. I don't think for me personally it's the best decision after they asked me to play a different position. And I only had 2 months playing this position, which is designated hitter,
which is not a position,
to all of a sudden have me try to play another position. So from my end, it doesn't seem like a good decision. Then they asked when the conversation happened. He said, it was after the Casas injury. They came to me and talked to me about it. I know I'm a ball player, but at the same time, they can't expect me to play every single position out there. In spring training, they talked to me and basically told me to put away my glove, and I wasn't going to play any other position but DH. Asked if there's a chance he might change his mind. Devers said no. And then he expanded. He said, no, I don't think so. They've told me I'm a little hard-headed, and they already asked me to change once. This time, I don't think I can be flexible. I don't think they were true to their word. They told me I was going to play this position, DH, and now they're going back on that. I just don't think they're staying true with their word. Devers said there's no trouble with his teammates, but he was upset that Breslow with the Red Sox came to him with the question, said, quote, I'm not certain what he has with me. He played ball. I would like to think that he knows that a change to position like that isn't easy. There's Rafael Devers when asked, hey, man, can you play first base for us? You played third base.
There were injuries.
Yeah, we asked you to play the position of DH, and you've really struggled with learning that new position of DH. It's been a real tough time for you. Now, Cora did say, yeah, one of the reasons why Devers is really playing well and swinging the bat well right now is he's now getting used to the timeline of being a DH and all that stuff, and how to sort of play the game as a DH instead of, you're out there fielding. Like, okay, whatever. But then it's like, well, I can't play all over the field. Like, I can't play every single position. Like, I'm not going to play outfield. Cool, because they're not asking you to.
Yeah, it's just two positions, actually, at this point.
You played third.
Just
they're asking you to play first.
One switch is all they've asked.
Yeah, so they ask you to.
And by the way, they're paying you how much?
$31 million a year. You're in year 3 of your 10-year, $313 million contract. They're paying you a whole lot of money. And, it's weird because, like, he said, no, there's no issue with the players. I don't know, maybe to your face.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, would there be no issue with the players if it's like, all right, now and Alex Cora was asked last night after the game, and he said, we've got some options down in the minor leagues that we can bring up and see about, like, so now you got to go get a AAA or a 4A player to play first base for you because your $31 million player who played third base his career and has played DH for the first time, refuses to play first base, to even try to learn it. Like, he might suck at it, but I think you give some grace if he's not good at it. You know, because Scott Hatteberg, he was told that it was very easy to play first base. Tell him, Wash, it's incredibly difficult.
It's incredibly difficult.
It's not hard at all. It's incredibly hard.
I think the transition from third to first is in all things considered an easy one for major league players. I mean, first of all, with ground balls, right, there's no place harder to play than third. So you got that. You can knock it down at first and still grab and run. By the way, first base is the most fun position to play in baseball.
Yeah.
You're around everything, and usually it's not hard. You're just catching it. You're getting the putouts. And like I said, on a ground ball, you can fumble it. You can kick it.
That's why they call it the soft corner.
A little bit, rub it down. Oh no!
Oh no!
You still have time to run to first base and get the out.
Rub it up, rub it down. Well done. Oh, no. That's what everybody's saying.
You do all of that.
Oh, no. You got time.
You got time, though, actually.
Oh,
Sal be
no.
running.
It's the soft corner at first base. The hot corner.
It is it's the cold corner.
Yeah, it's cold corner over at first. It's cold corner over at first base. I don't know, like, there's a part of me that's like,
your employer paying you a ridiculous lottery check every single week, right, to go out there and play a game.
Yeah.
And I don't know. But I mean, it's a guaranteed contract, right? You can just say whatever you want, do whatever you want.
If you struggle at it, like, here's the thing. If Andy Reid approaches Joe Tooney and says, we need to move you to left tackle, and he says, dude, I'm an all-pro left guard. I ain't going anywhere. Or, man, I'm going to get embarrassed at left. I'm not going up against Myles Garrett at left tackle. I'm not going up against Max Crosby at left tackle. That's not what's happening, coach. Not happening. I'm 30-something years old as a left guard. I'm going to play left guard. You want a left tackle? Go find a left tackle. And that's where part of it, okay, is it on the organization? To a degree, but the organization gave themselves an extra option by bringing in Bregman, so they've got a couple of third basemen. If they didn't bring in Bregman, well, now they would be down Bregman and Casas.
Yeah.
So organization, well, should you have somebody ready to play first base immediately? Like, do the Royals have somebody ready if Vinny gets injured right now? Like, you'd say, oh, we'll bring up Jack. Well, yeah, but that, specifically now they have that. But, just Casas goes down, bring up another first baseman and not have your full-time DH. But, like, I couldn't imagine, like, Joe Tooney being like, nah, I'm good, man. I'm not going to learn. Jonathan India, you're trading for me? Yeah, you're trading for me. I'm a second baseman, just so you know that. I'm not going anywhere. Yeah. I play second base. I'm not playing in the outfield. Sorry, not happening. He also has sort of the position of strength because it's like, I got 7 more years left on my guaranteed deal of $31 million per year. So I'm going to play DH. Sorry, you guys moved me to
DH.
I'm just learning DH. Okay, I'm just because he acts like he's actually learning
for it, right? The steps, the footwork, all that stuff. I'm just learning it.
Yeah, I'm just learning how to do. You guys moved me to grounds crew. I'm just learning how to grow the grass in the outfield and mow at a certain level. And now you want me to move to first base? Like, figure something out for me, guys.
Nobody tell Rafael Devers like what Jonathan India is doing this year. The positions he's playing.
I mean, good night. Again, it's like, well, what are they? I can't play every position.
Why not? First of all,
yeah.
And I love
but
it.
Also
this is
cool. Just play first.
This is what happens when professional sports and you pay all these guys so much money. You have brand name teams employing brand name players to where, like, what do you say? They're at this point in my career, I don't think it's good for me. All right, what about for the team?
Right.
This is
the players
good for
are
the
good
team. Does that matter at all to you?
No, teammates said there's no trouble. There's no issue with this at all. They're totally fine with us having to go to AAA to bring up a first baseman because I won't play first base.
And then, by the way, sending somebody down because of that deserves to be in the major leagues. That might be an outfielder or whatever.
Yeah, playing a different position. Yeah, it's not like Casas is struggling, so we need you to learn first base in case we need to bench Casas. No, we have our first baseman. He ruptured his patellar tendon. We're asking you to step up for the team because this man. Because you know who would love to play first base right now, Rafael? Casas.
Yes.
He'd love to play first base, but he can't.
He would love to play any position right now. All the positions.
Right. Now I wonder if, from Rafael Devers' perspective, if he'd have gone to the organization and said, oh, we need a first baseman? Why don't you go get Bregman? you move me off third base for Bregman. Why don't you ask him? And then that's when they would say, yeah, but he's a Gold Glover there, and you're not exactly a butcher, but we're gonna put the frying pan at first, okay? And we're gonna let the guy that's fielding with a cloud on his hand. We're gonna keep him over at third. But if it would be one thing, like if he said, well, I would gladly go back to third. If they need somebody to if I need to play a position, I'll go back to third if that's what they need me to do. But then is it okay with the teammates then if you're saying, well, Bregman, you should be the one that now moves over to first base? Does that cause a problem with it? The whole thing is and that's where Buster only said yesterday, the perfect world is that the player presents it as in hey, do you need me to do this? Yeah. Let's do this, man. We're trying to win a World Series this year. We've got a team that can win a World Series. We were picked by a number of national analysts to win the East and win the American League. Casas
You're a couple steps away from that happening in this instance.
Yeah, Casas was part of it, him playing first base. But it's just, it's a scenario that I couldn't imagine as a player being in and just being like, nah, I'm not doing that, man. Screw you. Sorry, not going to do that. Chad's like, hey, Jason, we need you to actually move over to that chair, or can you go set up some remotes? We need to do that from time to time. No, sorry, not happening. Zero chance. Yeah, but we need you because
I actually could see all this happening.
This is happening. This is happening. I know we've asked you to. These are the circumstances as to why I'm asking you to do this.
I just learned how to play.
Sorry.
I just learned how to play 10-2.
I'm just now getting used to 10-2.
Yeah.
Now you want me to 10-2
You're asking me to set up for 2-6?
Whoa. That's no. Setting up remote for Seren is easy. Tell him, Wash. It's incredibly difficult. Okay. Sorry. I'm going to just sit here and host from 10-2. So we'll see who's going to be playing first base tonight for the Red Sox. But watch, it'll be Devers.
Yeah, pretty soon. It'll be hilarious. Has he played yet? Have they put him there yet?
No, he's been DHing the whole season. Okay. Just DHing. They're playing a guy that's batting 100 at first base. So, he's barely above the Melendez line. But he's not Devers. We'll take a timeout, come back, wrap up the show next.
I'm a big Ken fan here. Okay, I'm rolling with Kendrick. I'm not a Drake guy.
Your team Kendrick.
This whole
Wheezy.
is just
We
it's
should have said
perfect.
Wheezy.
So
That's
good.
on us.
Lil Wayne. Lil Wayne never entered my thought process.
So dumb.
I don't even know what is Lil Wayne.
A milli. You know that song? He's on a lot of people's songs. Back in the day, he was a hot boy. He was The Block is Hot. Remember that one back there
No.
with Juvenile, the guys coming out of New Orleans?
No.
You don't remember that?
No.
No.
Nolans.
What about the guy from St. Louis?
Nelly.
Nelly, I know Nelly
You know
songs.
Nelly? Down, down, baby.
Yeah.
Street in a Range Rover. Street sweeper.
Whistle?
Baby.
Did they do
Ready to let
the
it
whistle
go.
song?
Yeah.
No, that's my favorite.
Oh man,
It's getting hot in her. You know, I'm really embarrassing myself with all the singing of these rap songs right now.
Yeah, I think it's getting hot in here.
It's like it's got like 4 R's on the end of it. It's not just here. It's
Oh, really?
H-E-R-R-R. You get her.
Hot and her.
It's a country grammar.
Oh
Woo,
man,
that was so good, man.
I'm shocked. Well done, Todd.
Listening to the whole thing, dude, it was so good. Keep going, Dylan.
Oh man. Oh, I tried to give you the hard one, and that was the hardest one.
Hey, Sterling.
Yep.
It's like he's always here,
Yep. Never leave us.
haunting us.
Robert, baseball wit, BBW. Nope. Bobby, if his middle name was baseball. Bobby Baseball Wit. It was.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead. Keep going. If there's anything else, please.
All right, real quick, Brian,
Hey,
let's
Judd.
test your buzzer.
What's that? I'm sorry.
Let's test your buzzer.
Love it.
Okay. Brian.
There we go. Nice
There
one.
it is. There it is. Yeah.
All right, give me Brian. and give
We
me-
might want to have somebody look at that. It seems to react slowly.
One more.
I
Yeah.
love marijuana.
Me too, Pete.
Oh, Pete. Such good stuff, man. Thank you, Mick.
Thank you for having me.
Great work.
Happy weekend to you guys.
Tell your kid congratulations on his graduation party.
I will. Do you have checks? I was supposed to collect some checks here.
Yes, that's right. Checks, but the
You
balance.
ever
is
written a
over there.
check, Dylan?
I have actually.
Okay.
Good for you. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers.
Also
out
made a
there.
copy.
Happy anniversary to all the moms.
And my mom and my wife.
Happy Mother's Day, Mom.
Mother's Day.